Welcome in, everybody, to Proving Grounds number 5, presented to you right here on IPL Splatoon. My name is Shiny Hunter Zach, and joining me for the first part of this tournament is the wonderful Siren. And Siren, we have a decent swath of teams here playing in this tournament tonight, all vying for a win here in what's become a pretty nice bi-weekly tournament series.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you, Zach. I wasn't expecting the turnout that we got tonight, but all things considered, when you have this amount of players split up against two very large events like this, the turnout here is very impressive.
We're going to be getting into a match here soon. I believe the graphic shows a couple of different teams. One of our matches is Goldfish Enjoyers versus Sassy Spikers, which I think is the one we're getting into. Frostbite is also on there, but they are the 20th seed going up against the 13th seed, which is just an angry face emoji. So if they get on stream, we'll have to work out how to commentate that. But in the early portions of this game, best of 3, going to be kind of quick, but we have that double elimination format. So for right now, at least, any team that loses still has some time to come back.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm looking at this bracket here, a lot of really good teams tonight, and it looks like we're actually getting right into it here. Splat Zone on Hagglefish Market. We are seeing some very different comps from the usual, at least already from the side of Goldfish Enjoyers and Sassy Spikers that we're looking at both. So that's always exciting to see at this point in time.
Well, boy, if you were not wanting to see any sort of splash-o-matics, you're in luck because we're not actually having them this time around. As you mentioned, some sloshers, 2 for each side. One actual slosher, and then we have a sloshing machine and an X-splosher to start out with. Goldfish Enjoyers going to be taking over the tower first. And some pretty interesting weapons. You know, we have the Junior here, which I think has kind of gone undervalued as of recently because the Custom Junior has been just such a strong force in the meta.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. That Custom Junior is really good at holding down spaces, just like Junior did back in sort of the late days of Splatoon 2, where you could have this huge control over a large area. And I feel like Custom Junior is doing that job a little bit better than the regular one at this point in time. So that is the reason why people are choosing it. As you can see there, Wavebreaker just dominating this entire area under that tent there, allowing Goldfish Enjoyers to hold on much longer than they normally would have been able to, considering the fact that they've already gone 3 down, but they pushed bit of 45 in just that first minute of the game there.
Yeah, good comeback from Sassy Spikers. You have to admire the Junior for being able to stick it out. You know, the big bubbler really helps for that, but I think the sloshing machine as well, that's another big mainstay in the meta right now. Those the sub weapon really helpful, that fizzy bomb in helping to back off the enemy team as they come in. And now we're starting to see some counter specials. The triple ink strike from both sides counteracting each other, but they can't counteract the booyah bomb right in the middle with another special. They honestly don't need to, though, at this point, as they'll take over the lead and have a special to boot.
Yes, and lead they will take there just by a little tiny margin, but able to cap this zone, and points are still ticking down despite the fact that, you know, members of Goldfish Enjoyers have been tackling this zone very aggressively. It's been a bit of an uphill battle for them getting back into this zone here and getting this cap once again, but it does seem that this game is going very back and forth so far.
Yeah, taking a look at the backline here for Sassy Spikers, they have that X-splosher, which is such a strong weapon when you give it the room to breathe. It really needs some painting weapons to be around it so that it can sit in the backline and do what it does best. Of course, it has that Ink Storm, which came out, which will help to passively get ink on the zone. They're also going to get a splat onto Orbism, helping you generate a 3-down situation. They'll take a bit to take back over the zone, but as we enter the halfway point in the game, they're chilling, kind of getting rid of that main penalty, not really even needing a lot of specials here, just kind of forcing back the members of Goldfish Enjoyers, and that can be a difficult part of this map, is finding the right avenue with which to get back to the zone.
Yes, and they do seem to be struggling with that just a little bit here. A lot of aggressive specials are going right into their base alongside with those aggressive bomb tosses. That is going to prevent any sort of pushback from Goldfish Enjoyers getting back into mid here. And with that penalty ticking down here, they only have one choice pretty much if they're going to be trying to get back in and at least get this counter cap to buy them some more time in this game.
Chamomile going to be sitting down in the zone here, trying to back them off. There's going to be a triple ink strike coming out. It's not going to be enough, however, despite all three basically hitting the zone. They're not spread out enough in order to actually stop Sassy Spikers from taking game one. And as I was going to mention there, you see other weapons that Goldfish Enjoyers brought. You see things like the range blaster. That's another weapon that really relies on having another member or two on your team be focused on painting, because it needs the ability to move around. There are some folks that run Ninja Squid on it, and that was pretty back and forth. You know, Sassy Spikers had a couple of moments where it looked like they might lose the zone, but really, I think better usage of their specials is ultimately what it came down to.
Yeah, I think one of the scariest things that you can be dealing with in a map like this, when you don't have something, you know, specific to counter it, is when you have that Explosher who has their feet firmly planted in that zone there. You're not going to be able to get in just on specials alone. That Explosher is just going to be able to paint over anything you can toss at it. So the only way in is very manually. You have to sort of take your time and get into it methodically. And that was the one thing that I think they just missed their chance on when you're getting down to those last 20 seconds of the game there. It can be very, very difficult.
Well, Siren, as a competitive player, I know that you're used to playing on Sturgeon Shipyard. It's one of those maps that came back from Splatoon 2, and love it or hate it, it does see a decent chunk of play in competitive tournaments. And tower control as well. You have that sort of metered zone, or rather the metered objective that follows a set path, but it can be very difficult on a map like this one, just as on Hagglefish, to come back from your spawn if you get too far down or lose a lot of your team members.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. There's a lot of points on this map where the enemy can take high ground if they're able to push up far enough. They can completely overtake your snipe. They can overtake that right grates area. So it can be really, really dangerous if you're not able to hold your ground, or just maybe slip up for a very brief moment. So that's one of those things that I think both teams are going to have to be watching out for here, because once they give the other side a little bit of momentum, I feel as if they're going to be absolutely just running for it. And, you know, it can be very, very scary to stop without specific tools to sort of take people out. You know, you're going to want to have a lot of aggressive bomb control. You're going to want to have maybe a killer whale, just different things that are going to be able to apply a lot of AoE damage towards that tower.
Yeah, you bring up some good points. You know, Killer Whale, a very strong element, especially on longer maps like this one. And that Explosher was so key for Sassy Spikers in that game one. And they bring it back here. Chamomile going to be on that weapon. And we do see the switch over, a couple of switches here for Goldfish Enjoyers. The first is they've now gone with the double sloshing machine instead of bringing that slosher. And the second is that variant of the Junior we were talking about. The Custom Junior is here to play.
Yeah, that Custom Junior is going to really do a great job of flushing the area out around that tower, and basically allowing whoever's going to be on that tower to have a lot of free open space, or at least, you know, a little bit of extra damage to help fend for themselves. So that's a really good option to have here. Right off the bat, we're seeing a huge fight going down, and maybe we have sloshing machine versus sloshing machine around this corner. Just a fight to see who can hit these angles just a little bit better here. But thankfully, Josh on that sloshing machine is able to get bailed out by their teammates and able to clean up that fight, which is going to allow them to get to this first checkpoint rather easily.
Well, Sassy Spikers changed up their composition a little bit too, mainly trading out the slosher of their own for that rapid blaster, something that doesn't see all that much play, but for tower control you definitely like having the blaster class of weapons because of its ability to hit multiple targets. It also comes with that triple ink spike, so you're not, or ink strike rather, so you're not trading out the special necessarily, as we see all the way up to 33. Sassy Spikers having a lot of that same success that they had in game one. Now Goldfish Enjoyers finally claiming some turf here and getting them off of the tower, but now gonna have to get the tower all the way back into mid, and by then I think Sassy Spikers will have not just the special as we see the Killer Whale online, but also some forward momentum once again.
I love that you brought up that Rapid Blaster pick there, as I am personally a Rapid Blaster main. I think it's a really good option on this map personally. There's a lot of different ways to use it here. It reaches a lot of the good spots on the map, and as I was going to say, those ink mines are a great way of keeping track of areas that you might not necessarily want to keep your feet planted in yourself. So those ink mines are really, really good. It'll allow you to spot out members who may be trying to take these flank routes and get into your base by unconventional means. Really good job here. So that Rapid Blaster, as you can see, is going to do a very good job at defending this checkpoint, basically applying all this AoE around that tower and not really allowing Goldfish Enjoyers to make it past this first checkpoint here whatsoever. This Blaster is going to be struggling a little bit to remain on the tower and wait for their teammates to come back in here.
Well, with yourself being partial to the Rapid Blaster, I have to mention I've been rather partial to the Range Blaster, actually, and both of them share elements in terms of having what ends up being a pretty nice element to have in that you're able to spot out members of the enemy team. Of course, with the Rapid Blaster, it uses those ink mines you talked about, and the Wave Breaker is going to be the special for that Range Blaster, which can one-shot, and also with the ticks on that Wave Breaker, if they get hit, I believe 45 damage is what it can do. But we're in the last couple of minutes here. We see Goldfish Enjoyers making their best push of the game so far. They've forced a 2-down situation as well, including the backliner. They've also gotten that sloshing machine down. So this is a good opportunity if they can get back on the tower, but they're regrouping. The Range Blaster finally able to get back on, and now it's just the Ink Brush. Can they hold it down before the lead is taken over? No, they cannot. They'll get onto the checkpoint. They'll have a Booyah Bomb and a Wave Breaker coming out. Josh will go down, and this is looking much, much stronger for Goldfish Enjoyers.
Velvet here controlling this entire area towards that last checkpoint here. Only 2 members of Sassy Spikers left. This could be a knockout for Goldfish Enjoyers if they're able to stay on the tower. That Range Blaster jumping back in and able to sneak the last few points on there. I think maybe Sassy Spikers thought for a moment there that everything was clear since everyone around that tower was down. But, you know, you always just have to be watching the skies.
Yeah, Siren, I think you hit the nail on the head. That was going to be my point exactly, is that was looking like a done and finished fight there for Sassy Spikers, and they may have had an opportunity to come back, get the tower back to mid, and force overtime here. But Goldfish Enjoyers with the jump, you know, a lot of players still love to run stealth jump on their gear, and whether they saw the jump coming in or not, they were not able to do anything about it, with Goldfish Enjoyers getting down that last 4 score to tie this best of 3 up at 1, which means we are going to a Game 3, and as you can see on the layout here, it will be Rainmaker on Scorch Gorge, and Scorch, another one of those divisive maps, but I do feel a good amount of folks, at least on this mode specifically, tend to like it decently well. I think it's one of the more popular maps that we have in Splatoon 3 for Rainmaker.
Yeah, I think Scorch Gorge is another one of those scary maps, and you know, one thing that terrifies me about when the set is kind of relying on a game of Rainmaker so much is just the fact that there's so much lying on it for you, and especially in this double elimination bracket, you never want to be going down in your first set of the night. So I think when you're sort of getting into these desperate, maybe nervous plays, there's a lot of mistakes that can be made in Rainmaker that you wouldn't necessarily autopilot into in different modes of the game. So both teams, you know, really need to be focusing on not letting that choke point get breached, because there is a very obvious one on this map. There is that very top of the ramp on the left side, just right after that first checkpoint. And once your enemy team gets there, it can be very, very difficult to defend, and a lot of points can be lost just by, you know, one moment of dropping your guard.
Well, speaking of nerves, this is our closest matchup in round 1 by seeding. We have the 16th seed Goldfish Enjoyers versus the 17th seed Sassy Spikers, and they may have reason to be nervous even if they win, because the winner will be taking on the #1 overall seed Smoothie in our next round. But let's focus for now on Game 3, as we see now a Rapid Blaster coming out yet again, and the return of the Explosher on the side of Sassy Spikers, along with maybe the most infamous now weapon in the meta, the Splash-O-Matic.
Yeah, we are seeing a Splash-O-Matic finally in that Game 3. I suppose we couldn't have gone too long without it in a game of Splatoon 3. But here it is. That crab is going to be crucial, I think, mostly for defending. There's a lot of really good spots for it aggressively as well, but it's just one of those things they have to keep in check constantly, and keep in check they will do, able to get that out of the way very early on in the game. And so just sort of spotting out these extra corners of the map is what we were seeing Velvet doing here, popping that Booyah Bomb to open up some space here. Basically, we're trying to see the ball start to get rolling here, as they are spotting out the Splash-O-Matic dropping onto them once again.
You have to think for Rainmaker, more than just about any other mode, I think a lot of teams prioritize, and you'll have to correct me on this as somebody with a lot of competitive experience, they really want to ensure they get that 2 or 3 down situation before they push the objective, because you really can overextend hard in Rainmaker if you wait for only 1 or 2 to go down and then try to push in. But now Sassy Spikers making the first push of the game, looking for that first checkpoint, this right one being the more popular of the 2, and for that exact reason, it looks like Goldfish Enjoyers knew exactly where they were going and stopping that push and forcing a 2-down situation.
Yes, so I do mostly agree with that point, but it feels like more than ever in Splatoon 3 that respawns happen so quickly and people are into the game so fast that by the time a fight is done, the first 2 people you may have taken out in that fight are already back in there. So one thing I guess that people need to be a bit more mindful of is trying to take any opportunity, whether that's big or small in this game. So even if you're just getting a little few points, you might have to snowball it a little bit and not totally wait for 3, maybe just start moving things once you get that first or even that second, pick off the board.
Man, Natsu, they're caught between a rock and a hard place. They did a great job of getting the pick with their fizzy soda there, but unfortunately not able to survive as they were being beset upon by the specials. Orbism now trying to make a push. It looks like they almost have enough, but then something gets in their way. First it's a Splat Bomb. Now it's going to be this Killer Whale 5.1, and they haven't quite gotten the lead yet. They're trying to make sure they have a path to go through, and they'll get the lead just barely. Unfortunately for them, though, they are not quite able to make it to the pedestal. However, Sassy Spikers, 2 down at this point. It's 2 down actually for both sides, and Icar able to just barely push it forward and get onto this checkpoint.
Yes, that checkpoint now cleared for them. This is going to be a great way. They do have these specials lined up here. That Booyah Bomb is going to come out for them. They do have that Ink Strike at the ready, starting to move things here. They're opening up so much space into the base of Sassy Spikers here. This could be a very large push for them. They're getting 2 down, but they took too long. That Rainmaker is going to reset back into mid, and now rotating back here, that is going to allow Sassy Spikers a little bit more time to come back into this. And with all that control back, it almost feels like they wasted a bit of time there.
Well, and even with that, they're able to bring the Rainmaker back all the way from mid and get a few more points. It's not quite the push they wanted, and they do go 3 down, but it will be getting from 60, which is where that checkpoint was, all the way to 53. So they've now also pushed the timer to about 1:45. Sassy Spikers in the middle. It's going to be Chamomile. They're backlining the Explosher there with the Rainmaker. Of course, the Rainmaker having a 60-second timer before it explodes, so they need to do something in that time, and it looks like they're just trying to fire off some shots and get some picks. They found one already. There's a second one out of the sloshing machine. I should say one of 2 sloshing machines. It's just going to be the Rapid left along with the other one, and the Crab is out as well. This is very difficult for them to get through, and it's going to be, it looks like a Ink Strike that takes out the Crab. However, they will be getting close to that pedestal there, so not a bad push for Sassy Spikers and still some time, although map control definitely shifting back to mid for Goldfish Enjoyers.
Yeah, 1 minute left on that clock there. They do have to be very careful about how they approach this last push here, if that is what it is going to be. Now, one member of Sassy Spikers already going down here. That is not what you want to see at this point in time. With that Killer Whale coming out, I assume kind of defensively here. So, it's kind of more about holding that neutral until you have your teammates ready. But, time is ticking. That there is a lot of blue ink in mid. It is completely covered, and it looks like they are just setting up camp here, holding around this Rainmaker and just not allowing Sassy Spikers to get into mid. So they are going to have to force their way through here with their specials, but that means they're not going to have that same exact amount of specials when they're trying to push into their base.
Very good point there. It's almost like a game of chicken to see who's going to pick up the Rainmaker first and when. They opt to do it without really getting a pick here, or at least they've respawned in that time. We see the Slosher here, Josh trying to do something. They'll lose a team member there to an Ink Strike. They get marked as well. They're able to take out Natsu, but the Rainmaker goes down behind them, and that's going to be a full wipe on the Sassy Spikers. Goldfish Enjoyers protecting the Rainmaker, protecting their victory here as they will take Game 3 and the set on Scorch Gorge.
Yes, a very strong choice for Goldfish Enjoyers there to basically just set up camp in mid, hold that area there, and force Sassy Spikers to use every little bit of what they had to just take mid and nothing else. And that really allowed them to just back up into what they had, defend that Rainmaker, and get that wipe you saw at the end there.
So great job there by our 2, again, closest seeded teams. It is going to be Goldfish Enjoyers moving on to round number 2 in our winners bracket. They will be taking on the number 1 overall seed Smoothie. That will remain a best of 3. When we get into winners round 3 is when we will start seeing some best of 5 gameplay. Again, this is a double elimination tournament. So love to see the turnout that we did have here. Again, there was some questioning about how many teams would be playing today and the caliber of the teams, but it looks like, again, based on the seeding and based on who's actually shown up to the tournament, there's no shortage of talent here.
No shortage whatsoever. We have teams like Smoothie who are showing up, which I'm surprised, to be honest. When you have such strong teams like this that are playing, you think there's a lot of commitment to the events happening this weekend. So to see these really strong teams come up and show up to play and show up to win, basically, I mean, I don't know where I was going with this. There has to be a reason for it, and I think just Proving Grounds is a really, really good tournament to pick out of the two. And I do appreciate the grind.
Well, and I think you're right. I think the moral of the story is that teams want to be playing, first off, on ranked modes. They want to be playing on these modes that they're going into either scrims with, or they're even just going into anarchy battles with. And as we move on to our next set here in round 2, which is going to be the 7th seed NKT Definitivo versus Little Timmy and the Splats, who was our 10th seed, defeating Voorhees Fan Club, the 23rd seed, in a Game 3 showdown. So that one went to 2-1. But these are the types of matches that I think these teams want to be playing. I think they want to be going up against talent that is similar to them. I think, especially as you get larger and larger in tournaments, it takes a while for you to get closer and closer to teams or opponents that are at or around your skill level, and that's how you, I think, hone yourself best as a team. And of course, that's compounded with watching VODs or learning from others, or if you're newer to the scene, of course, like watching introductory videos, things of that nature. And for these teams, especially the ones that have been in the scene for quite a long time, they are constantly looking for ways to improve themselves, and sometimes that might not always mean picking the meta or being in the meta, but knowing what your team can excel at so that you can capitalize on those strengths.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate that kind of play, because meta is something that's always going to be changing. Patches are going to be made, but when you are always focused on nailing those mechanics and different ways to win, you're always going to be, you're future proofed, basically.
So taking a look here at our map list for round 2, we're going to be starting things out on Clam Blitz on Museum d'Alfonsino. Of course, didn't get to see any Clam Blitz in round 1, despite going to the full length of that set, the best of 3 here. So very interested to see the first iteration here of Clam Blitz. Museum, I think, again, a more popular map or choice for Clam Blitz, and because it uses a lot of the main section of the map, that middle portion, so the actual barrier is not too far removed once you go up the ramp up to the enemy team's overlook or plat, so it really makes good use of the space, but it trades that off. It's sort of a double-edged sword in that you're taking longer to get back from spawn to either the barricade or to mid, depending on what state of the game you're in, so you really do have to value that neutral play and both gathering clams, waiting for the right opportunity to strike. And I think that's one of the interesting things about Clam Blitz, as much as the mode itself can get dunked on sometimes.
I feel like the community has mostly grown past the hatred for Clam Blitz when you kind of understand how it's designed for this competitive atmosphere, and it relies on teamwork more than anything else. And something about Museum d'Alfonsino clams is just there are two ways to sort of go about pushing on this map, and one of them, while it's quick, it leaves you very vulnerable, so you do have to be careful. And then there's that slower approach from the other side where it's going to take you a little bit more time, but you do still have that safe covering of that spinner area, and you don't have to jump to do it, basically. Jumping is one of the most vulnerable states that you can put yourself in this game, period. So teams do have to be sort of mindful of what's going on at all times in this map, and it punishes basically trying to rush things or getting really greedy, and I think that's the beauty of this one.
Well, you make a great point there. Jumping is high risk, high reward. The reward is getting back into the action quicker. You're able to assist a teammate who is just out, usually, if you're jumping to the right person, of where the main battles are taking place. And so getting back into the action, and a lot of builds, especially those that revolve around quick respawn, sort of rely on getting back into the action quickly, not just from the time you get splatted to the time of respawn, but also from the time you respawn to getting back into the midst of the fight. But the risk aspect of it is if you are jumping to the wrong person, if you're jumping at the wrong time, if the enemy team knows where you're jumping, or if they see you jumping, then especially in a team-based scenario where most of these teams are communicating actively with each other, it's difficult.
You know, I actually was referring to the different kind of jumping, the one where you press the B button.
Okay.
But I agree with everything you just said as well, because I'm talking about the little push where there's a box and you can jump up right to their basket area on this map. You can go right from mid instead of taking that long way around with the ramp. You'll see what I'm talking about when we get into the game. But I still agree with everything you said about jumping, and jumping, like super jumping, is super prevalent in Clan Blitz as well. Maybe not so much as it was in Splatoon 2. I don't know if you remember the time, or if you were active in the scene when the mode was really new and people were discovering all these different things you could do with special usage and baller, and people were jumping, oh wow, you can jump into a baller and the baller will protect you, quote unquote. It's a lot of like things like that we don't really have the same ways to do, and I don't know if we've done that sort of code cracking, sort of labbing it out with the same specials we have in this game the way we did in Splatoon 2. I think we have a little bit with talking about how Zipcaster relates into all this. Again, not a very popular special though. I don't even necessarily see it as a Clan Blitz niche, but I think that it's a mode that will take some time to evolve within this game and how we approach things. I know Bubbler is the most obvious thing that comes to mind, but I think there's different things we can do that just haven't really been thought out yet.
Well, super jumping or jumping, regardless, there are a great many techs in the game of Splatoon, and you mentioned, you know, Splatoon 2, that iteration of Clan Blitz when it came out, and people were figuring it out, and we had both the baller and of course the bubble blower, which were two of the more common ways that you would allow your teammates to get in to a position where you could jump to them and you could dunk on the basket or break that barrier. So I think for this game, because you don't really have that, as you mentioned, teams still trying to figure out the best way to do that. There's also that little ridge, that little hump right in front of the barricade that tends to show you like where you have to be in order for your throw to actually connect. And so, you know, placement and making sure that you're aligning yourself. I can't tell you how many times I've seen from competitive teams throws that, you know, could have taken the lead, could have broken the barrier, that were just short, and either whether that was made out of desperation or whether they genuinely thought that they were within range and just weren't. That's something that is a very little thing that you wouldn't think would happen in competitive play, but these sort of mistakes happen to everyone. No matter how good you are, no matter how many times you play, there are mistakes that are going to happen, and there are some teams that get rattled by those mistakes, or individuals on those teams, and there are some teams that don't. So I think always interesting too to see which teams sort of withstand that pressure. There's that analogy of pressure makes diamonds, but for some it can crack others. It can sort of make them worse under pressure.
And, you know, talking about that little bump in front of the basket, I do think it's interesting because I know a lot of people tend to ignore it just because of the fact that there is literally like a million ways to toss a ball into a basket on this, and that bump only applies to the, you know, the super clam and not the small ones, because the small ones travel like such a farther distance. So there's really a million ways to go about things, and you know, getting into the game at long last, we are gonna be. Yeah. Wait. No, this is not right. That's not the rosters. That can't be right. I don't think we picked the right teams here. Okay. No one's. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe some trading was attempted. I don't know if the Splatoon trade deadline is coming up or something, but it looks like there's been some splitting. But no, yeah, I think you're right. I think they'll be readjusting the teams here. But I think, to your point, there are so many different ways that folks have gotten creative with, not just, you know, where on a linear level they're throwing it, but also from an elevation level. I love seeing people make a heroic jump off of like a higher surface and just try and throw the clam as far as they can into the basket. And sometimes that comes off a jump, and sometimes that is just out of desperation at the end of the game before you get wiped.
It can be kind of a bit of a gamble there, because it feels like sometimes the second you hit that bump, you're dead, but also at the same time you need to get that in before overtime ends. So I think that's like the biggest thing that kind of racks people's nerves and maybe causes them to miss a lot of the time, is just worrying that, hey, if I get too close, I'm going to die, but also At the same time, I do have to be a certain distance to the basket. So when you're just a little tiny bit off, that's what really gets people. So I mean, there is a lot of aspects of clamblets to consider, and I think that's sort of what makes people butt heads on it so much. Is, you know, when you look at it at a distance and you go, hey, this is the game that you play online with strangers and no communication aside from 2 buttons, it can be really difficult to get that point across. But within a team setting like this, it's a lot more exciting.
Well, all that aside, it's finally time, I think, to get into the match here. We're going to see Little Timmy and the Splats in green here, and of course the pink is going to be NKT Definitivo. Composition-wise, some interesting choices. We have a Dynamo Roller, which is not something that we see too often. The other roller going to be the Flingza. That's something that does come up quite often because of 10 missiles, although they did get nerfed somewhat recently. And then, of course, the Splash-O-Matics coming back into play as well, at least one for both teams. I think one even has 2 of them in addition to one of the other new weapons here that we've seen in addition to the Custom Junior is that Tenatech Splatter Shot, which has become very popular.
Yeah, that Tenatech has been popular among a lot of different players just because that Tenatech has such good accuracy, it paints really well. It's sort of a really good all-rounder, as it kind of always has been, and I think those the ink strikes really add on to its approachability as a weapon, and it sort of makes it feel like anyone can play it. So definitely going to be popular just for that reason alone. As I am saying that, though, NKT doing a very good job of clearing out this entire space. That crab is an optimal possession to be extremely aggressive. The only thing here we're missing is just some clams in our clamblets game.
Well, we finally got some. You tend to do pretty well when you're able to force a wipe, which is exactly how that fight started. Although they were a little bit hesitant to go around and get some more clams here. They had another power clam. Are they going to be able to get back into position? It looks like not. Although they've gotten a couple of picks here, not able to extend the barrier. So the barrier goes back up. They have another crab at the ready here. And while NKT has done a great job of keeping Little Timmy and the Splats back into their spawn, as you mentioned, the object of the game, those clams, going to be difficult if you're not able to get them in a position to score right when your power clam hits the basket.
So that is sort of the big thing that people are going to have to be looking out for. NKT Launch is going to be sitting here with that Dynamo in a great spot here to be applying a lot of this aggressive paint and control into the base of Little Timmy and the Splats. That crab and bubble is going to come out defensively, so this should hopefully clear up the area for them and allow them to get some more space back in mid. But now, again, they've sort of exhausted a lot of that pressure just to clearing out their very own base, so they're going to be able to have to maintain this in mid without any sort of special usage here. We're seeing this Flingza painting up so much, almost back at those 10 missiles, and we're getting picks on the board. This could be huge for them.
Yeah, definitely the best little spurt of time here for Little Timmy and the Splats. They've done a great job on the defensive side. Now finally getting a chance to do some offense here as they've gotten a couple more picks. They have the big bubble at the ready here. This is exactly what you mentioned, Siren, and getting ready. They pop it, but they lose their Flingza. However, it's going to be 2 down on NKT. Tolado, they're going to be getting a double kill to help slow things down. However, the barricade will break. 3 down, though, on the side of Little Timmy and the Splats, so they will score, but maybe not the push that they were exactly hoping for, especially when they commit that big bubbler.
Yes, definitely not the push they probably would have wanted, but I think it's great that they're able to get their foot in the door at some point in this game here. You know, it's so much harder to push back against the 65 when, you know, you're going from 100, but now they have that advantage of going from maybe 80 instead. That being said, NKT is going to make their way back into this base here. If Little Timmy is able to fight against this very quickly, they could make this a very good punishing push, but narrowing that lead is going to be very difficult as they're able to push that down to 43 already. This could be the end of it, but taking that little shortcut block is going to take down, I believe that's Brian. This whole midsection is something that they're going to have to climb through once again. That Flingza going down, that's going to be very hard for them to come back into, so they may have to delay this, but with 1 minute left, that's getting harder and harder to do.
Siren, I love when a plan comes together, and both forms of jumping that we talked about in the pregame here, jumping and super jumping, coming into effect heavily here as NKT really extending that push quite a bit, able to get, I believe, a whole power clam going down from 63 to 43, and then an additional clam off a jump there, so down to 40. Of course, both teams with penalties to choose through. Little Timmy and the Splats only getting the power clam once in, but they have a good amount on the board right now. They just need to get the picks, and here they come. That's 3 down. The crab is going to come out trying to get the fourth. They're able to help get that one down. The big bubbler comes out as well. But through all this, they still have not been able to break the barrier. All of that careful planning going to waste, it looks like, as they have a 3-down situation. They expend the Reef Slider as well, but they're not able to get out. The Dark Tetris, the last one to survive, and with about 20 seconds left, NKT looking to be in nice control here.
And Lange just staying here in mid, able to paint up so much. This whole map is purple, and it's just going to be that Tetris left. They are going to continue to dunk some clams in here, hopefully getting that knockout, or just basically extending this game over to overtime and not allowing Little Timmy and the Splats any time whatsoever to get back in. This could be very bad if they're a little too greedy with this, but keeping that clam basket open when the game ends is going to guarantee them that first game.
Yeah, only slightly a gamble there. We did see NKT lose, I believe, 3 of their 4 members in the waning seconds of that one. But to your point, they're able to break that barricade. They're not even giving or leaving any part of it to chance as far as letting Little Timmy and the Splats have an opportunity to go to overtime, which can be notoriously long for Clam Blitz. So nice job by NKT there, showing why they are the higher seeded team here, number 7 overall in this tournament compared to number 10 for Little Timmy and the Splats. And as we move on to the next one, again, super curious as to what will be brought here. We saw some more meta stuff than in the previous set. We saw multiple Splash-O-Matics, we saw a Ten-Attack, we saw, of course, a Sloshing Machine come out. But we also saw some things that are kind of in the mid-range or even pretty far removed from the meta. I think the Dynamo being the most prevalent example of the latter.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to be seeing similar weapons to that once again. I feel like Macomart is very much a comfort pick for a lot of teams, and whether that means playing weapons that you are comfortable with, or it just means weapons that you know will succeed here, regardless of your comfort level. That's one of the things that we see on Macomart quite a bit, because it's just so consistent across both games. Well, I say both as if Splatoon 1 didn't exist, but transitioning into Splatoon 3, we, have been seeing a lot of the same strategies being used here. This map is just a very familiar face. Nothing's really changed with it. And, teams that have stuck around for a while might have the upper hand. But at the same time, it's a new game. So we have other things that we can use, just a lot of the same stuff works. So,
and
go on.
To your point, I think the maps that get changed a lot tend to receive a worse reception than the ones that stay almost exactly the same. You look at Hammerhead Bridge, for example, and Mahi Mahi as well. I think those are some of the returning maps that got changed quite a bit, and almost because of that received sort of a more negative or, again, divisive reception compared to something like Macomart or Museum that came back and didn't really see too many changes. So, again, maybe that's why teams are pretty well in favor of, especially this map and mode combinations here, pairing Splat Zones, that sort of plus-shaped zone with Macomart on the map. Looking at the weapon compositions now, we see now 2 Ten-Attacks, and instead of seeing a Dynamo, we will see, looks like a custom Junior coming out from a Large Men, and on top of an E-Leader, and Chargers here tend to have a pretty good couple of spots that they can set up on to be pretty effective.
Speaking of things that were good in Splatoon 2 and in Splatoon 3, we are seeing that Flingza coming out once again, so I'm not expecting a whole lot of interactive gameplay or really seeing that Flingza come into zone very much, but we do see this Tetra camping up Gay Wolf on this right side here, just waiting for anyone on the side of NKT to show their face. Getting that Reef Slider and getting that jump is going to be great for them, but that they're able to punish that Reef Slider, which is, kind of infamous for Reef Slider at this point in time. So a lot of back and forth on this zone here. It's really hard for me to keep track of what team has control, but that's because both teams have been just wrestling this control here.
Yeah, you make a good point. I mean, the Dark Tetris, the pro is that it's a unique weapon in that it has the 4 dodge rolls, but you are really burdened a lot of the time by that Reef Slider. It is well sought and well defeated, handily defeated, I should say, at higher levels like we're seeing here. We're seeing some triple ink strikes come out as well. Large Men trying to defend the zone here for Little Timmy and the Splats, who's established a pretty strong foothold here in Game 2. able to even avoid a penalty, at least for the moment. They tick down another 6 or so points before finally receiving a penalty there. NKT on the opposite side of things, not only getting rid of their very short penalty, but now firmly in control of mid. And you look at how far up they're advancing. You see Kosex on the mid-left part of your screen just trying to get that crab, at least not painting the zone. They also take the crab out and the pilot. So a great job there by NKT as they're really getting back into this one and taking the lead to boot.
Yes, that lead will be theirs, and they have now set up a camp in this zone here. We're seeing this E-Leader set up, and that Splash-O-Matic on that box is not what you're going to be wanting to see once they're able to get those... Wait. Oh, yeah, there's a Splash-O-Matic. They're running 2 T-Techs and a Splash. That is terrifying paint-wise. I didn't even realize that the T-Techs were overshadowing it. That being said here, with only 17 seconds left on the clock, Little Timmy in the Splats is able to get a counter push onto the zone here. We just see large men fighting for their lives, seemingly by themselves with this wave breaker and these bombs, just juggling around this blue ink, and actually even getting that pick trade onto that Tenatech, which is going to be really good for them in their holding power, but not quite enough when you're kind of facing a bit of a 3v1 from what it seems.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned early in this one the Flingza was going to be sitting back, and unfortunately for the rest of Little Timmy and the Splats, the rest of their team has been forced to sit back because there's just been so much pressure brought on by the aggressive nature of the 3 shooters in their composition for NKT, and of course the backline pressure, that long range coming out from the E-Leader. However, finally showing some signs of life again are Little Timmy and the Splats as they get a 3 down. It's just going to be the E-Leader here, and they will back off enough for Little Timmy and the Splats to claim that zone back. They have a decently sized penalty to chew through here, and now it's going to be Gay Wolf sitting on this Reef Slider, waiting for the opportunity to peek out, getting hit by the burst bomb there. They'll have to reposition. This is definitely one of the elements that they want to prioritize, that sneak ability, or that the ability to remain hidden here. Now, in that time though, NKT getting the zone back, and with a minute and a half left, I'm not sure if Little Timmy's going to be able to retain that foothold that they worked so hard to build up.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised that they've been having such a struggle holding down the zone here. You know, they are able to hold down this lead here, but with only a minute left, Little Timmy and the Splats does have another chance to come back in. They do have to be very careful this time. One of the members already going down when they haven't even made it into zone yet, which means NKT does have a bit of a path to go right into their base and do what they want. You know, it's going to be very hard for them to be punished by anything that they do at this point in the game when they have such good control over mid, and ticking down is just these last 10 seconds, and that E-Leader is not budging their positioning whatsoever, so they have to make a run for the zone, and you know, they're not going to quite make it in time from the looks of it.
Yeah, name a better pairing than Chargers and Respawn Punisher. That is exactly what we're seeing from this E-Leader, as NKT, along with the Charger and those 3 shooters, are going to take Game 2 and the set here on Mako Mart in a pretty dominating fashion. Of course, we talked about the crab, and we've talked lots about the meta here, but seeing those double Tenatechs come out along with the Splash-O-Matic, the triple Ink Strikes, which were popular not just in this set, but in the previous set that we watched, the ability for that weapon to take over map control with the special and then just push forward. The Splat Bomb as well being one of the more destructive of the bombs available in the weapons department or classes. So really pairing some devastating short-range weapons with that long-range presence that the E-Leader is able to put out.
And when you have such good aggression, it does allow you to punish those maybe more, I hate to say, but AFK weapon picks, like, speaking from a junior perspective here, Junior and Flings a Roller, you know, you have that killing power that they might not necessarily have on their own, and when you sort of lack that presence on your team, you know, running all that aggression is not going to be punished easily. You know, they really have all this free reign to go in, and you know, when your weapon is both really good at killing and really good at painting, and you have both of those traits present, it's a lot to deal with, especially in something like zones.
Well, folks, the winner's bracket is chugging along nicely here, as we will soon move on to winners round 3, which will feature the 3rd overall seed Half Send versus the number 6 seed Parmesan Allegations. And I want to point out specifically that name is both in all caps, and their team picture is a stuffed Pyukamuku. So I love whoever has made those decisions for their team. That's a strong start, even without having played a game on stream yet. But as far as what they have done in this tournament so far, both teams starting out with a bye in round 1. And then for round 2, HalfSend defeating McDo Kitty Crew 2-0. And Parmesan Allegations defeating Orca Ballastra 2-0. So both teams not having played that much Splatoon today, at least in this tournament, and having a pretty easy time of it, at least on the scoreboard up to this point.
I haven't been too familiar with the other side of the bracket as I am watching all these games on stream, but I'm not gonna lie, I had a good giggle when I saw Popgun type in chat that the next round would be Parmesan Allegations in all caps versus HalfSend. So, you know, I'm looking at these rosters now that we do actually have on screen, so I don't have to look at Battlefy. Loose Goose, hold on here. Is that... Wait, do we have an Australian team?
Well, I've definitely heard of Shockwave. I know Shockwave has been in a good number of tournaments as well, and no wonder, as they are, again, 3rd overall seeded. They have, we were laughing actually earlier in the pregame because we were talking about, there's a team named Ouroboros who is still in winners actually, but it is not the team Ouroboros that some Splatoon veterans will know. I believe this is a newer team formed this year, actually. I think January 2023 is their inception as a team. But they're certainly, if there's some Australians, that is some absolute dedication from them, and hopefully their internet can hold out if they are indeed playing from Australia.
I believe Loose Goose was on Blue Ring Docklings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll recognize that name.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, so if that is the same Loose Goose, which I'm gonna be a bit of a stalker here and look at their Battlefy account, I think it is because they have 4 pages of this Splatoon tournaments.
Good job of a caster.
Yes, I believe that is them. So I mean, some familiar faces on HalfSend, and I guess some very late night, early morning players in Australia right now. So very long-term players on one side. I'm not super familiar with everybody on Parmesan Allegations, but they've been doing very well so far. That could be the tart that I'm familiar with, and Connor I've seen in some tournaments as well. So
I do love the little ways that Splatoon players try and differentiate their names, to, especially if they're more common ones. Like you see Liam for HalfSend, they've got the brackets around the L. Connor, you know, it's not just Connor, it's C. And then you have the colon and then the O-N and O-R. Tart has the little up arrow next to their name. So both in-game and I'm sure on Battlefy and on any challenge or any bracket that they happen to be using. Definitely nice to have a name where even if it's just differentiated a little bit, you can determine who they are just from that, rather having to say, is this Connor or that Connor or any of the million other Connors that I know?
Yes, exactly that. I feel like it's, whenever you're trying to seed me things, and don't take my huge word for this because I've seeded like 3 tournaments ever because I only do lands, but it can be really hard when you go, oh my gosh, I should really know who this person is, and then you just have to like do your research into their history and try and figure out, okay, does this make sense? Like, how well does this team sound in theory? And then you have to sort of base everything on that because like 80% of the teams at LANs nowadays are pickups, I feel. And that's going to come with the fact when it's hard to assemble a team of 4 who can all go to the same thing in one part of the earth. But, it is part of the nature of our game.
Well, let's get into it here. We're going to be going straight into game number 1 in this best of 5 series. This is winners round 3 between HalfSend and Parmesan Allegations. We have a relatively meta composition, although I do see an Octobrush coming out on the side of Parmesan Allegations. And on the flip side of things, a weapon that we don't see a lot of that has the crab, the Splat Dualies, along with a roller that I don't think we see too often, if I'm seeing that correctly.
Yeah, no, I believe that's the carbon roller. So I feel like we've been seeing it a little bit more as things go in. I think when we don't have weapons like Junior as popular, it does allow more free reign for these really sneaky type weapon classes to get their space here. But with that being said, Parmesan Allegations taking this fight over all in mid, kind of waiting for HalfSend to sort of playing to them, which did reward them greatly here. So now they are going to be able to make their way to that first checkpoint, almost getting this check, but there is just going to be a few remaining members of Half-Send to defend this area. Still able to get away with this, and popping that wave breaker is going to allow them to get some more momentum.
Yeah, I'm amazed Tart was able to survive there, and they did get the wave breaker just off behind the pedestal, so they're not going to have to go through that checkpoint again. But finally, a member will go down there. It's going to be the sloshing machine falling. And talking a little bit more about the compositions, Half-Send bringing out a weapon that we definitely don't see that often in the Nautilus 47. It also has that Ink Storm, which provides that nice passive ink coverage for the map. But I think this map, too, with the sort of glass overlay that you have, that a lot of chargers can perch on, is also great for Splatlings to use as well.
Yeah, a lot of long-range weapons do get that chance to sort of take one area, and, you know, unless you have something set up for that yourself, then, you know, they don't really get challenged very often, which is going to be very good for them. But they do have to be mindful on a map like Rainmaker, where the paths are so different. They, you know, both teams are going to have to do a very good job at paying attention to which direction the team pushing is going, because if they're going left and you're, you know, defending the right side, you are having this whole bald spot of where they can move into.
That might be the best analogy of the night, the bald spot one. I love that. Shockwave here is going to be the one on the Nautilus. They're going to break that Rainmaker shield down as they take the lead after having broken through their own checkpoint there. They will lose a couple of members, now 3. It's just going to be the Splat duelies remaining. That's Liam who falls. That'll be a full wipeout. However, Half-Send getting what they came for initially in a lead there. But as we mentioned the last time we saw Rainmaker, if you overextend or lose too many, you might just be playing yourself down a little bit. However, Parmesan Allegations getting it back to mid and kind of holding there to make sure that they can get back a foothold in mid and regain some map control there. Waiting for some specials to come online, including one that we haven't talked about too much, that Zipcaster, which was just used there, gets a pick there on the Duck Sauce fan and is looking for another one there, as both teams have lost a couple of members, forcing Parmesan Allegations as they lose the Rainmaker to hold on for a second.
Yes, Splat Kitty here is going to be sitting in this sharking position, is able to be spotted out by Duck Sauce Fan on this splatter shot. One thing I did notice here is that they do have 2 different Inkzuka users on this team coming out of that carbon and this splatter shot, which is something you really see rarely, but I think it's a bit of an underrated special. When you have something that is so explosive and so quick and can just be used, and then you don't have the burden of holding this giant heavy thing, I think it's great. But that's maybe just my opinion here. But that Inkzuka is actually going to be the thing that is going to allow them to take some more space up in here and, you know, sort of start moving things along a little bit more. Connor going to do their best to try and catch up to this Rainmaker here. Liam getting these absolute schmoves on him and just barely making out of it with, you know, getting that Rainmaker into maybe not so much of a favorable position for either team.
Yeah, Connor with a lot more room being on the opposite side of that little corner or that box area to maneuver around in and using that to their advantage. Now going to pop the crab in mid. This gives them excellent visibility to almost the sort of divided 2 long halves that is Undertow Spillway. Looking for anybody that gets marked, but unfortunately they're not going to get anyone marked as a lot of Half-Send are still coming back from spawn, and they're playing mainly defense now, which can be a dangerous game, although they do say defense wins championships. They're going to lose a couple members. That's essentially 3 down on the side of Parmesan Allegations. So Half-Send, if they opt to go for it, might even have an opportunity to push forward. They lose their carbon roller, but that's sort of the role of a carbon, is to sort of get picks and go down trying.
Yes, I think at this point, you know, you got 15 seconds left. Half-Send is just going to be watching this Rainmaker like hawks at this point. They've kind of set up where they're backed up just enough to defend, but you know, if they are moved out of here, it can be very punished. It just, you know, someone on Parmesan had to pick that up, and oh wait, looks like somebody did.
I think the Splatoon timer showing how cruel if you're on the losing side or kind it can be, at least strict if you're neutral, in terms of if you do not pick it up the exact second that game ends, then you are out of luck, which is what happened here as Half-Send takes game 1 in this best of 5 over Parmesan Allegations. It looked like, as you mentioned there, Siren, Parmesan Allegations might have one last try in overtime, but they'll have to take that lost momentum and hold on to it for game number 2, which will be Clam Blitz on Inkblot Art Academy. And again, this is going to be another one where in game 1 we saw lots of trading, lots of 2v2 situations, even some 2v1s or 1v1 situations. So both of these teams not afraid to get in the mix of a fight, not really opting to take that many sole 1v1 fights over, you know, those larger team engagements.
The Splatoon timer giveth what it taketh away, as we could see that. So I was sitting on that one like the entire time there. Clam Blitz on Inkblot Art Academy. Yeah, this sure is a map, and I think there's one very crucial, very important change they made about this that both drives me crazy but also makes me a little bit happier, just like 50% of the time, is the fact that it used to be a staircase when you were moving into the opponent's plat area, and now it is just a ramp, which means that it is so much easier to move in and it is so much harder to defend. So, you know, it was this one little change that I think made the game move a lot faster, which I think is something that we're seeing as a bit of a constant. But I think people who may be a little bit too comfortable with how easy it is to defend might be letting their guard down a bit.
Yeah, that I think is one of the biggest changes coming from Splatoon 2 to Splatoon 3, is that the pace of play has just exploded. It has gone to be much faster, and I think as part of that, you're seeing weapons that are shorter range but have longer range specials, or just have the ability to hit from, you know, basically 0 to getting a kill quite quickly, and still having the option to have an effect on the game from further away. You're seeing that with Booyah Bomb, you're seeing that with the Crab Tank special, and our only global special for the game, which is the Killer Whale 5.1, all having an effect in that way. Looking at the team compositions now in Game 2, we are seeing mostly short range on the side here of what looks like Parmesan Allegations here, just bringing in a Gluga Dualies, which is essentially a dually version of the 52 Gal, if I had to put it in a way. It's a 2-shot kill weapon that has a splash wall, so if you get within range of that thing, it is going to truly bite you.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I feel it's maybe a little bit closer to like the 96 Gal Deco, just because it had that splash wall and that range going for it. And Gluga does really have that as a bit of a niche in this game, is just a very high risk, high reward dually, which I guess can be said about a lot of different dualies, but in a different sense here. So we are going to be watching Songchi on those named dualies on this left side here, able to poke into their plat area and holding a lot of aggression here despite the fact that their teammates are halfway down. So it's just going to be him and that ink brush, and with that ink brush going down, making the smart decision here and backing up into their platform once again.
Yeah, looking to target the power claim user. They are going to take down Duck Sauce Fan here, which is the sloshing machine. Looking to take out the crab as well from behind the safety of their splash wall, using their dodges as well, but they're going to be taken down by the carbon roller, who goes down a second later, that being Lusky. So again, as I mentioned, it's going to be these 2v2 situations as both teams losing multiple members here, but from a clan perspective, there is no doubt that Half Sen is in a better position. They have the map control for the most part in mid, and now 12 clams, including the power claim that Shockwave is holding, just trying to find 1 or 2 more splats. They end up trading there with the ink brush, and Shockwave now on this high ground, still looking for the right opportunity to push in with 3 down on the side of Parmesan. I think that might be the time now.
Yeah, Shockwave having his eyes completely on that splash user, who was just that last remaining member on Parmesan, doing a very good job at moving in there, but not quite getting any sort of reward from it whatsoever. With just, you know, the other members of Parmesan Allegations making it their way back in there, and able to defend that very well. And that is going to be a very good counter push for them. Only having 4 clams in hand, though, they are going to be maybe in a bit of a panic situation, as they've already popped that bubbler. They're using up a lot of resources here in their base, but they're not quite getting a push started yet.
Yeah, that was quite
Oh.
formulaic, up to the point where they forgot that they didn't have a power clam available to them. And the map showed 8 total clams for Parmesan Allegations, but if those are not all held by the same person, then you're not going to have a power clam to speak of. So from that perspective, good defense there by HalfZen to break that big bubbler down, not let it just sit there and allow safe haven for the members of Parmesan Allegations. And we're more than halfway through this game now with a tie score of 100 to 100 still. So now Liam going to come out with the crab, trying to find a foothold here for HalfZen. Multiple specials at the ready as Parmesan Allegation is going to go down despite HalfZen still having a couple ready. The Inkzuka coming out as well from the carbon. It looks like doesn't find anybody, but does scare the junior away, who has that big bubbler at the ready and would like to use it for another push. But we've really reached yet another sort of neutral game situation, and sometimes Clam Blitz games just go like this.
Yeah, I feel this is one of those maps where it can be very hard to get in. They, again, like what I've said before, they've changed the momentum of this map by one tiny little design change, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to end up like this where, you know, both teams have such strong defense that they're not really getting anything from either side, and that is a lot of what we're seeing here. Connor with that crab just sitting at the ready, and, you know, able to pop this on this block here, which is going to be a great position for him. It's just more of a matter, once again, Parmesan Allegations is going to have to follow this up with a lot of clam pressure itself. Only sitting on 1 after opening that basket is definitely not going to be enough to be a dominating push in this game.
But for now, it is a lead. We'll see. They have 4 clams, now 7. Can they actually extend the barricade timer? And they will just barely, as Splat Kitty using the nice run speed and maneuverability of that ink brush, but it may cost them there as they end up, along with the dualies going 2 down. They will extend the lead up to 74, starting from 80. And with under a minute left, now it's going to be HalfZen's turn. They send the Booyah Bomb in. It's not going to find anyone, but it will provide them a nice foothold on the enemy team's plat with their ink on it. Duck Sauce Fan now running back to get what can be known as the pity clam, the power clam that drops into your team's basket after the opponent gets a push of their own. And now they're looking to push forward here. However, Parmesan Allegations with 2 specials at the ready. It's going to be the big bubbler and the crab going out, and it looks like that will be enough for them as HalfZen will lose 2 of their members. They still have the Booyah Bomb at the ready, and Loose Goose gets in the back line. 2 members going to be jumping to them, including the power clam user. They break the barrier. They get 2 in. They get the lead. And with 12 seconds left, despite losing a member, that might be the game-winning play.
Of Parmesan Allegations are still going down here. It's just going to be that Splash and Matic left, but that is going to be enough just to defend this basket for long enough for them to buy some time for their teammates to come back in here. It is going to go into overtime, but that timer is ticking down a lot faster than it feels. They are going to be able to open that basket, and that is going to take the lead just on its own.
Oh my absolute goodness. A death-defying last 30 seconds in what was prior a stalemate for, if not the first 4 minutes and a half, definitely the first 3.5 minutes, ends with Splat Kitty and the squad taking the victory there. And we will move on to game number 3, Splat Zones on Sturgeon Shipyard, with such a crazy ending there. It's hard to know how the energies are feeling, as both teams felt some high highs and some low lows in game number 2.
I think that one really stumps a lot of people, so it's kind of hard to be, you know, mad at yourself or, you know, feel down about a loss like that when it's something that happens so fast and it almost feels unpreventable. I guess in a sense that can upset a lot of people, but I think they can go into this, you know, with maybe a fresher mindset in Splat Zones, and you know, obviously Parmesan Allegations has to feel very good about it. There's no time where a lead in overtime feels bad, so they will have that in their pocket for this game for sure. But, you know, it's Splat Zones. Once again, we have the opportunity for them to play where they kind of just sit in the same spot. And as long as they have these sort of area controlling specials, which I do think is what we're going to see out of them, we could see a very dominating game out of them.
Yeah, I guess think back to the first tricolor turf that we had, which I believe was on Sturgeon Shipyard, and how much of that took place in the middle portion of the map. And, you know, definitely lots of opportunities here, as we've mentioned previously, for anchor players to set up on some great high ground positions. Chargers can excel here. Explosher, I think, is a very solid pick on this map because you can get on top of that spinner and still easily reach the zone. But we'll see what these two teams want to do, as they have both been quite aggressive with the 2 matches that they've played so far. Of course, that is going to remain the constant there for Parmesan Allegations. Shockwave going to be switching off of the Nautilus and will be instead going over to the Heavy Splatling, which this is a good map for sprinklers, as I believe on Splat Zone still there is that sort of almost pendulum or yo-yo, or at least some higher ground that they can stick that on.
I'm not seeing it here, but it could just be the spec camp. I'm mostly seeing seagulls here, Zach.
There we go. Yeah, unfortunately can't stick it to the seagull, but you can stick it to the pendulum there. Connor going to be getting that crab up early and often, as most Splash players like to do. Again, the nice thing, or sometimes the tricky thing about that platform that goes up 90 degrees and then comes back down, is that it can get you to high ground, but it can also put you in a dangerous situation if you overextend there. So both teams getting a crack at the zone. It will be going back to Parmesan Allegations, and neither team really opting for, overextending here. They're very cognizant of where the zone is. Duck Sauce Fan, is an Octobrush. Unfortunately, that's not the situation you'd like to see, but Brush players really rely on that sort of sneak ability, that sort of hidden factor. And the only person really, trying to set up on that high ground for a long period of time is Shockwave, who, yet again, as multiple players we've seen in this first minute or so, have gone down to a Splat Bomb.
Yeah. They're doing a really good job of holding this area here, but they do have to be careful of where they're moving in at this point, because you can see their whole base area is now turned into this lovely blue color that is going to make it a lot harder for them to move around in their own ink and make them more susceptible to, taking all this bomb damage. And so that is going to kind of force them into these narrow areas like this spinner here to move back in. And with 16 points left on the timer for Parmesan Allegations, the damage is going to be done by those just few little bomb kills at the beginning there.
I'm also quite partial to the shade of blue, I think, but orange is not so bad either, as we see Half Send stopping what ended up being quite a strong push from Parmesan Allegations and a massive penalty of 62 to boot. Now Half Send getting rid of their penalty and pushing forward here in earnest. Both teams losing a member. Tart having the big bubbler at the ready. Where are they going to opt to put it? Right on top of the zone or else anywhere else? It looks like it will be right on the zone. However, the triple ink strike going to be trying to take that down, and it will. However, Parmesan Allegations getting that zone back and giving a penalty over to Half Send as we near the halfway point in this game. Parmesan Allegations really taking a lot of the momentum that they built up by getting the overtime win there in game number 2. Shockwave being forced to relocate by said team. And this is not where you want to be on the ground level here if you're playing an anchor weapon or a Splatling.
Yeah, I think Parmesan Allegations has sort of addressed the fact that Shockwave is going to be a very big issue if they allow him to stay up on the snipe and get free reign over things. So they're doing their best to apply as much pressure as they can from a distance without giving up this zone area. That they may have faltered on a second there, as they did get some space. And this is going to be just another moment for Halfson to try and set up the same way that Parmesan Allegations has done so dominantly so far. Very little penalty for them though, however, so this is a bit of an alarming situation.
I find it quite interesting that the seagulls were circling the Parmesan Allegations spawn almost like buzzards right before they detect the scent of death almost. Kind of a dark or macabre analogy, but Half Send is really making them work for it as they have what looks like the means to get a lead here. If they can push it just a few more points, they force a 3-down situation here on the Parmesan Allegations, and it looks like with specials in tow, they might be able to do it here. A last-second attempt here from Parmesan Allegations is not going to be enough. They don't get quite enough incon to that zone, and despite a very strong start getting all the way up to 16 for Parmesan Allegations, Half Send gonna come roaring back and take game 3.
Really good comeback from them that game. I do appreciate the effort coming out from Tart on that junior at the very last second of the game there. You saw those bombs coming out, the members of Half Send going down, and that big bubbler, of course, existing for their teammates to come back in the situation that they are able to at least get a bit of a neutral zone there. So a very, valiant, brave effort in those last few seconds of the game, but it's just not going to be enough when you do have, like an entire team trying to paint over the zone. That's maybe the one thing that can outpaint a junior in that scenario.
Well, for Game 4, we'll be taken over to Eel Tail Alley for our first and only iteration of tower control in this set, with Halfsen trying to take it in 4 games and Parmesan Allegations attempting to force a Game 5 here. You look at a map like Eel Tail, in a way it somewhat resembles a map like Undertow, where it is sort of a longer, narrower map, and even more so on something like this, where the way you get out of spawn is so easily detected and honestly kind of difficult, because you have a jump down point near a ramp that's pretty predictable. You've got an uninkable pathway or walkway that leads you to the bridge kind of going over the map. And then you have that top right, and you have the top right sort of high ground, which looks like that roofing, and the far left hand side, which leads over to the box. So you have a couple of options, but usually the team that's able to control the bridge, and in this case, control the tower at the same time, is usually going to come away on top.
Yes, I think that's one of the things that we're going to be looking out for the most. Eel Tail Alley, of course, being a very narrow map as well, it's going to favor a lot of long-range weapons on that same, the other side of that coin. So might be seeing a charger, but Shockwave might just be sticking again onto that heavy splatling like we saw before, just for that long-range pressure that we saw before.
Well, taking a look at the compositions here, we see the regular splatter shot coming out in lieu of the 10 attack that's been quite popular. This will also feature that Trizuka that you mentioned earlier, Siren. And then on the opposite side of things, going to see the Carbon come back. So we will see Trizuka v Trizuka, and the Nautilus returns for Shockwave. So they're going to say, we had a good change of pace there for the map, but as we return to Eel Tail Alley, I think the Nautilus is where they're going to hold strong as a team and as an anchor.
Yes, definitely. I think the aggression is a choice there, but one that has a very good reward if they're able to get away with things. Parmesan Allegations getting away with this very first battle in mid and winning that, and able to take that very first... I loosely call that a checkpoint, but it's really not. It's just there out of obligation. They needed a third checkpoint. So Chart is going to back up here, trying to get up these 10 missiles and allow them to take another fight, which hopefully, in their case, will lead to getting up to that second checkpoint here, allowing them not quite getting into that there. So they are going to be backing off at this point, which is going to be maybe more beneficial for Halfsen than it is for them.
Yeah, Shockwave getting caught out there by Splat Kitty, not on the high ground like they want to be, and that's going to cost them. That'll force a 3-down situation and a full wipeout now against Halfsen by Parmesan Allegations as they reach the second checkpoint here. Going to be looking to clear that. Same as in Rainmaker, once you clear that checkpoint, you don't have to worry about stopping there if the tower happens to go back to mid. Duck Sauce Fan going to get taken out by Connor there on that crab. Looking to find some more with the burst bombs as Parmesan Allegations gets up to checkpoint number 3. But here comes some of the devastating offense from that Carbon Roller Deco. They will fall, but they've done their job of getting Parmesan Allegations off of that tower.
Yes, off the tower they are at long last, but halfway through that last checkpoint is definitely not something you want to be seeing in the first couple minutes of the game if you are the defending team here. So they are going to have to take a lot of what they just lost there and use it to sort of fuel themselves for the rest of this game. We are seeing a bit of another fight for mid, hopefully for them that they will be able to sort of take it this time. That Booyah Bomb is going to come in handy for them. Loose Goose just crawling around these little corners here and taking on these sneaky spots. You can see how hard Parmesan Allegations is sort of chasing after him the second they see him, because they do not want to let him get off his leash, to say.
Yeah, no kidding there. The couple of swipes there will actually finally get Songchi in the form of a trade, but in the meantime, Halfsen just pushed it all the way up to the midpoint here. 50 is where they will get to, but they are not stopping there. They clear that second checkpoint. They have the crab and the Booyah Bomb to clear any traces of Parmesan Allegations off the tower, and this is getting dangerously close. They lose 3 members in total. Shockwave gonna have to back off, and we see the Carbon Roller desperately jumping in to try and keep things going, and they actually make it to a very, very close 28, but they're not quite able to do it. Thankfully for them, they've got plenty of time, and Shockwave back on the tower here doesn't want to let this push end.
Yeah, Shockwave dealing all this damage to that crab tank, which is going to be great for them. They are able to get 3 down here. This is no doubt going to be the lead for them. They just have to take out Tart, and Tart's going to go down as well. That is going to be a wipe. This very well could be the game. Parmesan Allegations has to play this perfectly here to avoid this knockout, but there's not too much you can do when a Booyah Bomb comes out.
What a beautiful scene there from Halfset. I love the aggression and the choice to, now that you have a couple members back, you have Loose Goose and you have Shockwave, one who was able to smartly back out when the rest of the team went down, and the other who, of course, wants to be jumping back into the fray quite quickly with the weapon that they're using in that Carbon Roller Deco, combine to help get back on the tower and use some of those specials at exactly the right time. We saw the double there, we saw the Trizuka come out, we saw the Booyah Bomb to help lock down the actual area in front of that uninkable bridge, because once you have that locked down, there's no way that they can really easily get back or even bomb spam into the area where the Booyah Bomb is coming. So again, we see a great push and attempt from Parmesan Allegations, and as a reminder, this is a double elimination tournament, so they will be sticking around and are likely to have some good games to come here. But our number 3 overall seed, Half-Send, wins it 3-1 in our best of 5, and they will be moving on to winners round 4.
A very good set coming out of both teams here. You definitely saw a lot of signs of life. Parmesan Allegations just being a pickup. And I don't know if I've ever seen those 4 players come together before, but they've done really good so far. And, you know, I have no doubt that they're going to do well in losers as well. But looking at this here, I have to roll back and look at how well Half-Send played that towards the end there. You know, they just refused to give up that very little momentum that they had, and they very smartly decided to, you know, slow things down in exchange for being able to pick things up much faster once again. And that is something that I really appreciate when I watch. It's something that's saying, you know, saying with your play that you're not giving up.
Well, I think that's part of the beauty, too, of a best of 5 as compared to a best of 3, is that the team with the more consistently strong play is 9 times out of 10 going to come out on top. And we saw Game 2, that excellent play there to get behind Parmesan and get multiple jump-ins to take the lead with about 15 to 10 seconds left, but then in overtime, Parmesan Allegations come roaring back and take that lead over. That's just kind of a certified clam blitz moment, for lack of a better phrase here. But going back into the rest of the set, you know, they used the momentum that they were able to build up, even when losing out on some of the early advantages or the zone or the objective in any state there, and they were able to hold straight and make sure that they could take each of the remaining games. They didn't let that Game 2 loss get to them too much, and because of it, they will be moving on to play the winner of Ouroboros and NKT Definitivo, which Ouroboros, that's quite a story, coming in as the 15th seed, defeating the number 2 seed Prelude 2-1 in winners round 2, and now facing the number 7 seed, again, NK Definitivo. That one is tied at 2 apiece going in to game number 5. So that will certainly be a story to watch. Of course, as you see on screen, we will be on the opposite side of the bracket looking at our number 1 overall seed Smoothie, who I'm very excited to take a look at here, taking on TatsuGAYri, the number 4 overall seed.
Yeah, I know we were looking at these rosters earlier before the event as well, and just having a bit of a giggle at looking at a TatsuGAYri, but I'm excited that I'm gonna at least be able to see a little bit of the set before I have to head out. But Smoothie, you know, a very strong team that we've been seeing a lot of recently in these tournaments, you know, constantly taking these W's and SOS, and a very, you know, these players, I really didn't know a whole lot about them until maybe like Low Tide City 2022, where I think some of them I got a lot more acquainted with, such as Balloon, now known as Bala, due to a printing manufacturing error on his Low Tide City pass. GG's Dan, of course, we've seen for a while. Boopy and Storm, they are all these, you know, I would say fresher faces in the community, but they've been doing extremely well.
Yeah, and that's something that is, you know, both of us, I would say, have been in the community for years now, for quite some time. And, you know, it's an inevitability that folks are going to leave, or real real life things are going to take over, or they're going to prioritize other things or get burnt out. But it's the propping up of the community and the resurgence of new faces into the scene, especially ones that either seemingly just have the talent out of nowhere, or really work hard to develop that talent through some of the entry-level tournaments that are present in the scene, which I think the community on the whole has done a great job of providing in Splatoon 3 especially. But, names like Boopy, Haya, Storm, Dan, have done a very, very good job of cementing themselves, and I think have earned this #1 overall seed. As you mentioned, I think I don't know too much either about TatsuGAYri. This may be another pickup, or it may be a team that's come together recently, sort of like the newest Ouroboros iteration. But if the map itself, the map list is anything to go off of, as we'll be starting out on what looks like Clam Blitz on Scorched Gorge. That may help to dictate what they opt to bring, things that are going to allow them to get in to that barrier and break it as soon as they feel confident.
Yeah, so I think it's something that they have to be very careful here. Of course, we're seeing that extreme aggression coming out of Smoothie with just all 4 shooters. That Forge, something that I don't see very often, and I probably couldn't even tell you what the kit is. But these are all very, strong frontliners, and I think they're not even going to bother trying to make this resemble a traditional Splatoon comp. If that's what we're best at, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, thankfully the UI in Splatoon 3 nicely gives us on that overlay what the comp or what the kit actually is. The Forge continuing our streak here of seeing newer released weapons in Splatoon 3 come out. As we see already an early push coming out from Smoothie. They're going to be breaking it down from 80 on the initial pop all the way to 59, and they're not done. We see Q all the way on the right side with that Tentatek trying to flank around, but not before Smoothie has gotten all the way to 50 in the blink of an eye. That was 40 seconds, maybe even less overall, to get half of their timer down.
Yes, and I think that is creating a pattern for a lot of what we're going to be seeing this game, so long as TatsuGAYri, is playing the same way. So I think what they're going to have to do is try and learn fast what it is that Smoothie is going to be doing, because I think, those same patterns is, what they're going to be doing over and over again. And so long as they get away with it, they will continue to do it. So TatsuGAYri here has to be very careful about how they play into this and just watching what Smoothie does.
Yeah, I imagine the Forge taking over the role of that sloshing machine as it has a very similar kit. It's going to have the suction bomb instead of the fizzy bomb, but it will maintain that Booyah bomb and maintain a relatively strong time to kill. We see the power clam get thrown down as they were going to be waiting for their friendly fire Ink Strike to come down, but they're not able to survive in that time. A teammate will come by and get the actual break on the barrier, but they'll lose 3 out of their 4 members, and the last one is essentially coming back from spawn, so mid is going to be almost entirely blue at this point. You do still have that raised box in the middle there that took a little bit longer, but now it looks like Smoothie coming back together despite letting in 1 power clam. I don't think that's going to stop their momentum one bit, and nor will it stop the flow of specials, especially the crab here that Boopy's going to be piloting, and that Booyah bomb.
Yeah, but that Booyah bomb coming out, this is just going to be another push for Smoothie to come back in here. 25 points remaining, and they still have all their members up pretty much. Well, actually, that's a lie. The 52 gal is going to be down there, and that is going to be the end of the push for them. But again, that is a lot of points taken out, and it is going to be harder and harder the more that TatsuGAYri lets down their defense there for them to sort of get that one push that's going to win them the game.
I admire the honesty. I admire you calling yourself and saying, hey, you know what, that's not quite right. But their one element of backline there is going to go down. That's going to be the heavy splatling. It worked out in our previous set, not really doing as great as they would like so much, again, because it needs some room to be able to spin up and maneuver. That's going to be a 3-down situation yet again, forced onto TatsuGAYri by Smoothie. Essentially a full wipe as they'll lose their heavy splatling once again, who had just barely made it out of spawn. They have 16 total clams now, including 1 power clam, and that will get the break and almost take out their penalty entirely. A couple more clams going to do that job. They just need 1 more clam, and they have it in their possession. Storm is holding on to them. Can they make it through? And improbably they do. A little bit of spot hopping there from the 52 gal user will secure a pretty dominant Game 1 victory on Scorched Gorge for Smoothie.
A very dominating win from Smoothie there, and that is a map that can be harder and harder to defend the longer that the game goes on, just because momentum is such a harsh factor on pretty much every game mode on Scorched Gorge. So with that being said, it is still a best of 5. They have 2 more chances to get back into this, and I'm just hoping that they're able to pay attention. I'm not saying they're not right now, but maybe see specifically what they can do against this team to prevent them from coming in. And in my opinion, from a third party, which is probably incorrect because I'm not in this matchup right now, I would probably be looking into leaning way more into the defense, because Smoothie's whole thing is about pushing in and, you know, getting in there and playing aggressively. I think what they're going to be probably trying to do here is playing to the defense and then, you know, get into a position where they can punish Smoothie and then move back from that.
Siren officially putting TatsuGAYri on blast here. Gonna have to step up their game in order to impress her here. But I think your points are very solid. And this being a newer map, although coming back from Splatoon 1, of course, and having quite an interesting playstyle that it can lead to. You know, it's a 2-zone map, and of course it's sort of split by that walkable grate or bridge area, and there's also some pillows or barricades that you can sort of hide behind if you want to play something like, I don't know, a Splatling or an Explosher, but you have to constantly be vigilant because the walls on this map really lend themselves toward flanking and aggression. So definitely difficult to have to hold on to when you are trying to force a push like this.
Yes, Zach, and I hate to sort of jump the gun here, but that game there was going to be my last of the night. I always had to go sort of around this time, but I think this is a really exciting set for, I believe Popgun going to be filling in for me now, for Popgun to continue things off where maybe I left off. Maybe not so offended that I mentioned Bald Spot as a way to push earlier, but I'm going to go. This is Popgun.
Hi. Welcome in. What are we doing here? Commentating a tournament? Where are we, Zach? What is this?
Well, we are in the winner's semis, essentially. Game number 2 in a best of 5 between the number 1 overall seed, Smoothie, and TatsuGAYri, the number 4 seed, with some pretty interesting compositions. Nothing too crazy. We saw the Forge in game 1, so it's not so much a surprise anymore. We've also got a 10 attack on both sides, and it's a normal day in Splatoon 3 when you see multiple Splash-O-Matics in a lobby.
You know, the last time I saw dualies was, I believe it was Jared that was using them. I forget what tournament, but they were using them for a little bit. And it seems like a good weapon. I mean, it's got a great kit. It's just, well, I mean, Splash exists, and that's kind of the problem with a lot of things right now. But Baja being the master of all things dually, usually seeing them on Tetris, seems to be doing pretty decent with it right here.
Yeah, we've kind of gone down a walk-through dually lane, as one would say. You know, we've had the Tetris be on stream. We had the Gluga dualies even come out on, I believe, Inkbot Art Academy, and now we're seeing the return of the Splat dualies, which we saw, I think, earlier on Undertow Spillway. But this, if you can get up onto the high ground, quite a strong pick for it, as we see now the Ink Storm, or not the Ink Storm, rather the Ink Strikes coming out. The Crab going to try and counteract that. And this one, thankfully for TatsuGAYri, been much more of a back-and-forth game, and one in which they control the lead.
I like what Q's doing here. I feel like too many times teams bottleneck onto that very tight spot on the zone. No, push up. Take the fight to the enemy side of the map. Push the fight away from the zone and let your painters paint. I like what Q did right there, and it's getting them this pretty substantial lead for this map right now.
Shout out to all the Swifties out there, because the painter's going to paint. As we see Prelude charging up that Crab, holding on to the lead here. TatsuGAYri trying to keep Smoothie away. There is that Ink Rail, which does lead them pretty close over to the zone, and of course they can hit it with their subs and that triple Ink Strike, but it's not quite going to be enough. Just going to be able to get that one zone on the side, but it's a 2v2 here. Smoothie also losing all but Storm here, who's doing whatever they can. Popgun lauded them for being able to have that aggression, but maybe just barely over-aggressing here, doing whatever they can to keep TatsuGAYri away from the zone, but not quite working out in their favor.
Yeah, that was going to be tricky for Smoothie, even if they didn't have all their players go down, because they burned all their specials just to get to the point to where they are right now. Still 4 seconds remaining. It looks like the man advantage is in Smoothie's favor. They should find a way to cap their own zone, if not find a way to get back over to the enemy side right there. But TatsuGAYri being very pesky. It's so hard to cap both zones. You can get yours pretty easily, but now it's a wipeout. What happened there? Did Q just rip them open? Okay.
No cap on a stack is going to lead you to an L here, and that's exactly what will happen to Smoothie. brought about by TatsuGAYri here as they roar back from what, as Siren and I mentioned, was a rather dominant game one in their favor, and they will put some life back into this set, at least guaranteeing us a game four. So we will see all four of our ranked modes here today, but love the changes that they made and the ability to adapt to the rather aggressive composition that Smoothie brought out in both games that we've seen.
Yeah, the players for Tatsu, even though this is a pickup, they're all very experienced. Q's been playing this game, been playing T-Tech specifically for such a long time across both games, may even have played Splatoon 1. Righty on the ballpoint's been a menace. Baja probably wishes they had Splashdown back on their Tetra ability. But I mean, all these players together have been playing this game long enough. They've been playing against Smoothie players as well. Maybe not underneath the name of Smoothie, but they've been playing against them back when Boopy was on Tukey, back when GG Dan was eligible for Low Ink, which they were at this point last year, I believe. So like all these players are very familiar with each other, especially Balloon and Storm as well. So you should think, now, if you looked at the channel betting points, it was 100% of the points were on Smoothie. And I think that's totally fair. But it's still the roster that Tatsu has can hang with Smoothie. It's just a question of can they hang with them synergy-wise over the course of a 5-game set. I don't know. But they looked good on that Splat Zone's Flounder game. Now, everything else is going to be a little bit more... I don't know. I honestly don't know how I feel about Splat Zone's Flounder, but it's in the map pool, so be it. But... I mean, they looked good on that last map. I just question if it's going to be sustainable over the course of a best-of-5 set.
Well, and I think that's valid, especially considering what we just saw in the last set, where Parmesan won game 2, and that was all they were able to win. That's all they were able to do in that set versus Half-Sen. So now looking at game 3 here, going to Inkblot Art Academy, we are seeing the double Splash-O-Matic rather come out, and the Forge, but also a Splattershot Junior, you know, not an unpopular pick on tower control to have a big bubbler to lock down the last little push going into a checkpoint or right on top of a checkpoint. And on the opposite side of things, the heavy Splatling going to make its return, maybe better suited for a map like Inkblot Art Academy.
When you play against a team like Smoothie, you got to get the sense that a Splatling, maybe even an Object Surge Splatling to help deal with those crabs, is a pretty good counter, especially when you got a really strong Splatling player like Tatsu has. So if they can just keep their Splatling player safe, they will find ways to mow down everybody, because it's just Dan that has any decent range, except when somebody has a crab going on, then they got the longest range in the game, obviously.
Well, not only are they safe, at least for the moment, they had to back off there, but they were the conduit for at least one team member to be able to jump to them onto the tower. However, that push only going to make it to 75. They will clear out that first checkpoint, which, as Siren called previously, can be somewhat cosmetic on some maps. Storm trying to win the fight there against Q, and they will, but they'll go down to Pelu after that. Pelu looking for the double kill, and they will not find it, unfortunately. Just an ink bath here, as we're seeing multiple trades back and forth. Finally, it will resolve itself in the form of the tower going back to mid, and Smoothie getting it back.
Splatling dually players, I should say, just bloodthirsty animals. No regard for their own lives either. They just see somebody jumping in, let me just roll in and trade with them real quick. But honestly, that was a trade that works out into Smoothie's favor, because they're able to get control of the lead and clear that checkpoint at the same time. Well, they find a way to get across this next one. Balloon does not have a bubbler ready to go, so that's not going to give them safe, so they don't clear that final checkpoint, and so they do get lead, but it doesn't really mean anything right now. But still, even though they didn't get control, even though they did get lead, for some reason they didn't get control mid. Look how green it already is.
Yeah, I mean, TatsuGAYri clearing up their plat, I guess, enough to move on down or feel confident moving up into mid and take over control there. It looks like a trade there between the splashes. Is Dan going to be popping that Booyah Bomb? They're just going to be able to barely survive and get away, as that Booyah Bomb will get onto the tower and clear house, at least for the moment. But we see that Splatling player right back on it. They're going to have the Wave Breaker as well to both body block and help progress things. 3-down situation forced on the Smoothie. It's just going to be Storm left, effectively a full wipe. Now TatsuGAYri just having to get on top of the tower, and they'll do so not just with a body, but with a crab as well, and they'll take the lead to boot as the rest of the team jumps in.
Somebody stepped their toe on the tower, and that got them across the checkpoint. I was about to say, if they don't get across that checkpoint, that whole push doesn't matter. Who cares if they don't get lead? But they do get it barely across that checkpoint, and that is massive with about 2 minutes left to go. Storm does have this crab ready to go right on the left side of the tower. It's just a question of, yeah, actually, the junior player is going to have Bubbler ready to go, and a Booyah to work with, and another crab as well. So Smoothie using their specials here, but they need to find a way to get into position on that left side, and Pelu's doing a good job. Oh, but suddenly they all explode at the same time. That's going to cost them everything.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a lead flip there. A wipeout is one of the most secure ways in order to get that. Unfortunately, being a little bit too aggressive there as they had to try and get someone taken out. Balloon going to be the last one to survive, trying to jump out, and they'll succeed at it after getting the tower down to 21. And both teams have had very strong pushes with 1.5 minutes to go. However, you look at the top board here, TatsuGAYri with all 4 of their specials. They'll lose one there in a trade, but to me, the special that's been the signature one of this tournament surprisingly hasn't been Crab. It's been that triple Ink Strike, which has done a very good job of counteracting other specials, whether it be a big bubbler or a Crab tank.
Yeah, and again, that's Q, who's very used to using T-Tex in general, probably wishes it had Inkjet instead, but starting to figure out ways to use those Ink Strikes effectively. But right now, honestly, TatsuGAYri's probably just ecstatic that they're still in this one. They got wiped pretty convincingly right there, but they're able to bounce back and not even allow Smoothie to get to that 3rd checkpoint. But they're starting to run out of time right now. But I do like the position that they're in here. It's just a matter of, can they control this left side area? Smoothie understands what portion of the map they need to control with the tower. So as long as they hold this spot right here, they're going to be fine. And it's up to Tatsu to find a way to break through this upper wall.
Man, I feel like you could almost get motion sick watching Storm just because of how quickly they move. They're never sitting still in one place. They're constantly, whether they're backing out quickly, whether they're getting into the action quickly, jumping at the touch of a button. They truly know exactly what they're doing, but they are just flying at a mile a minute. And as we enter the last 10 seconds here, it is going to be TatsuGAYri with what will likely be their final push. They have the Crab at the ready. Righty's going to have the Wave Breaker, although it won't go on the tower. The Booyah Bomb will go onto the tower. Balloon going to go down before that. However, they're not able to touch the tower. It looks like Smoothie getting on in the midst of that Booyah Bomb, shutting down what could have been an overtime push, and they will take a 2-1 lead in this best of 5.
That's why they're called GG Dan, because they call game at the end right there. Just fire off the Booyah Bomb, and unless you got a vacuum, there's not really anything you can do. And perfect timing right there. Hey, Smoothie able to get the lead and masterfully hold on. Again, knowing what spots they needed to hold on to defensively, who needed to hold their specials and wait to the right time, and they're able to just kind of textbook their way through that game 3, getting up to that final game. Quick story, you mentioned Storm giving you motion sickness. Haya is on this team for Smoothie. Now, Haya, I believe, does some stuff Friday night and might sub in later. Haya used to be on my team, Destiny Troops, and whenever I saw Haya's point of view, I would legit just get sick. Like, just watch it. I mean, like, these kids these days, it's like they're moving their controller before their brain can even catch up to what they're seeing. At least that's how it works from my perspective. Maybe I'm just too old for this kind of thing, but yeah, like all of Smoothie kind of moves like that as well. It's just that super quick reflexes that only make sense to them, and it's paying off with how well they've been playing ever since Smoothie's been a thing for the past couple of months.
Yeah, I am pushing 30 myself, and I can confirm that it is quite difficult keeping up with the kids these days as people half your age or younger are taking the scene by storm. And, to your point about Inkvac too, I took a look, and there don't seem to be any Splatlings with Inkvac, so they would have to go off of their main role or weapon type if they wanted to go with a special like that, which has really not been popular at all in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, there's just not unless you want to use Big Swig or Rapid Blaster Pro, I believe, has it. But again, those kinds of weapons just haven't been used that often with where we are. And maybe when we get more kits, who knows. Game 4 coming up here. Smoothie trying to punch their tickets back to Winners Finals, which is where they were last time they played in this tournament. Rainmaker at Muscle Forge Fitness, Muscle Forge Fitness at the museum. No real comp change from either team, it looks like. Oh, wait, no, except Storm on the Gal, maybe.
I think they've gone back to what they started with. So start strong, end strong might be their mantra here. Is early crab again going to come out from TatsuGAYri, looking to take some out. It's going to be 3v3 here in the early onset. Again, pretty split in middle, though the top rotator definitely in favor of Smoothie, which is what you want if you're going to be taking the leap of faith, as it were, with the Rainmaker and trying to get to that checkpoint. For now, just using the crab to stall out a little bit. A lot of pressure from TatsuGAYri coming out, knowing that Rainmaker shield is popped. They may just allocate the Rainmaker to sit and be re-shielded up to a point, but now they're going to pick it up. Bowen going to try and push forward here. They have some jumps coming in. They're using this ramp as a little bit of a shield, and they've taken a lot of damage. Nice wherewithal to stay back and let their teammates push forward here on their behalf.
It seemed like Balloon wanted to just jump straight off of mid and automatically dunk it. You saw them buy the Rainmaker a little bit earlier and opt to say, nah, I'm just going to wait for the spinner to get in the right play. But now they picked it up. They're kind of forced to go this right side, and there's just nothing there. Everybody from TatsuGAYri has come back into the space, and now you're just awkwardly stuck with a Rainmaker you don't want to have right now. Hoping, can somebody get a splat, please? I might explode at some point.
Boopy going to be getting up to the top here. They still have control of this Rainmaker here. They got to push forward at some point, and they picked that time, but it may have not been exactly where they wanted to land. Of course, because their feet don't touch the ground, the Rainmaker will stay on the spinner, and that gives TatsuGAYri a huge opening to make a counter push.
Yeah, and automatically TatsuGAYri able to dunk the Rainmaker and clear that first checkpoint. It comes down to just the the lack of a commitment from Smoothie on where they wanted to go with the Rainmaker. They clearly want to go straight through mid, but because it wasn't there by the time they grabbed it, it completely shut down everything and gave an automatic free push to the enemy side of the team and able to get them the lead. Now, they do have a little bit of a slight man advantage right here. Storm able to pop the Rainmaker and dunk it yet again. Storm just able to do everything here. Probably racks up a lot of gold medals because they're just accomplishing a lot of things here for Smoothie.
Yeah, definitely the more aggressive players, I think, tend to do that as well. And of course, because they both sort of touch the checkpoint, the team that does it first maintains the lead, even though they would both technically be equal numbers here. So Prelude going to be on the spinner here with that crab, taking down the splash wall, trying to now win the crab v crab war, and they will by taking out Balloon's crab in an instant, looking for another pop there. Teammates able to finish them off instead. Boopy going to go down as well, trying to dodge GG Dan's Booyah Bomb, and the placement there is just perfect. Balloon, one of the last ones remaining to stop them, and TatsuGAYri with all of that assistance up front, able to extend their lead and force a wipeout here. Here comes Q, the last remaining resistance. Can they do anything?
What?
You can't get up.
What?
And they finally do. Finally, after faltering for a second, a full wipeout is going to help TatsuGAYri force a game 5 here.
What? Q! How did they slip through all of that? I think at one point just started partying in the enemy ink and just did not die. Just expertly matrix dodging every single bullet that was fired their way and was able to dunk it right there, forcing a game 5. And all of a sudden, all the people who voted all of their channel points on Smoothie, who, if Smoothie does win, you do realize you get literally 0 points. You just get your points back because nobody put any points on Tatsu. Who's the one person that put points on Tatsu? You're about to make bank off of like a 100-point bet right now. If they can find a way to win this Clan Blitz at Eeltail Alley matchup, that probably will go into the... will be favored towards the team that does have the long range in the Splatling if they can find ways to keep battling their crabs. For some reason, Tatsu's crabs were just outslaying. There was one point there, I believe it was Balloon's crab versus Pelu, and even though Balloon had the high ground, Anakin, it didn't even matter right there. Instantly got destroyed. So Tatsu's just been... everything's just rolling into their favor right now.
Yeah, to your point about the Splatling really making a difference here on this map, we saw that with Shockwave on the Nautilus in tower control in our last set, and although sometimes it can be bad in the short term, it can be very good in the long term to make sure that you have that presence on the tower, the range, they can jump to you, and we see Righty here sticking with that heavy Splatling to play that role, while the rest of their team, we are going to see still the triple Ink Strike come out from Q, we're going to see the Crab matchup from Pelu, and both teams feeling quite confident in what they're bringing, although Smoothie tagging along a sloshing machine to make sure that they truly are in the meta.
Hey, come on, it's game 5, guys. No messing around. Go back to Splash, you pick up the machine. We gotta win this
more
one.
Fun.
Try hard mode. And right now, it's working out in their favor. 3 players instantly going down with Smoothie starting to push up, and they got all the clamps that they need, but it's the Splatly player that gets picked off yet again. Oh, I thought they were going to stay alive, so that's a bit of a delayed wipe right now, and the floodgates are bursting in the favor of Smoothie in the first minute.
Yeah, this is reminiscent of game 1 right here, where we had just a massive push at the beginning here from Smoothie, showing their dominance, and they've gotten easily past the halfway point. This push still going. They have a few clams at the ready. Storm trying to find a way in order to get in. They have just enough ink to do so, but they were forced to fight a 1v2, and because of that, they'll lose both of their splashes, and that barrier will go back up, but not before massive damage is done here, and Q and TatsuGAYri left to pick up the pieces with plenty of time to go.
Yeah, and it's Smoothie that's still in controlling everything. That's how you want to push to go. That's textbook. You want to get a lot of points, and you don't want to surrender ground in the process. So Smoothie closed the basket with them having still the advantage. So now they're able to build up a lot of specials. And you see Tatsu slowly moving back in. Q recognizing there's one player right there, but somehow wasn't able to get the splat. Instead, it's the rest of Q's teammates that's starting to go down. So Smoothie's just been dominating all the way through right now. And Q landed a lot of shots in that sequence. Not enough to get a kill. That's a little frustrating, I know. But right now, Smoothie's picking up right where they left off that last push.
Yeah, you'd think it would be Pelu on the Splash-O-Matic who would be on crab takeout duty, but it's really been those triple ink strikes that have done all the work. There's a full wipeout forced onto Smoothie, so what could have been their comeback tour really has been halted to get that penalty down just to 11 and not fully taken out. So much better defense this time from TatsuGAYri, and not just that, but look how many clams they have at their disposal. Multiple power clams. They have the crab coming out. The barricade's going to get broken now here. One of the splash is going to fall. They get the power clam and another one in. That's going to bring it within one clam. If they can get somebody in to take it out, it's just the heavy splatling left, and they look like a quite visible player, but they're still able to do it. They get from 40 to 34, and there's plenty of time left on the clock, but that is certainly some heroics coming out from Righty.
The one mistake Smoothie made in that 2-minute and 30-second opening was trying to commit to throwing more clams in that basket. There's absolutely no reason why the machine should be going in there. You still got penalty points. You're not going to add anything by throwing more clams. They get wiped, and look how fast TatsuGAYri instantly runs to the basket and takes lead right back. That is experience coming into play right there, knowing your window is there. Don't lollygag, get there and get the points in. And look, they got wiped on their own push as well, but they're able to come back in, and it's neutral control of mid right here. What a one little tiny mistake by Smoothie has completely flipped the script of this game.
Yeah, and you see TatsuGAYri here doing a better job of actually juggling the power clam. I'm not seeing Smoothie do that a lot, and TatsuGAYri able to break that barricade again. They get another power clam in that's going to eat the rest of their penalty and get them down to 27. 3 down on the side of Smoothie. It's just going to be one Boopy who's left. They get yet another power clam in. They're 3 clams away from getting the victory here, and they had them up to the point where their splat dualies went down. It's yet again the heavy splatling, the last one remaining. However, this time Righty will fall, and with 1 minute and 20 left, Smoothie very dangerously on the edge here, as a couple more power clams from TatsuGAYri would seal the deal.
And there's still a little bit of a window here for Smoothie to get back into this one. Boopy's in a great position, but already burned through their crab, and just trying to hold some position right here on this right side. But players are getting taken care of before they can find ways to get their clams into the basket, and that power clam just got instantly erased here. Still 50 seconds left to go. If you're TatsuGAYri, you got to come up to a decision right now. Do we want to be aggressive this last minute and take the fight to their side of the map, or do we want to turtle up? Do we want to build up the clan economy in our favor, and do we just want to hold on and endure? I think you want to keep the aggression up, and I'm pretty sure when you got a player like Baja on your side who's just itching for a fight, they're going to do just that in this 30 seconds.
At that point, Smoothie already expending one of their Booyah Bombs to try and take down one crab, and now Baja's built up yet another, so it's a 2v2 here, and both teams with one special each. It's going to be the Booyah Bomb again versus another crab, and the opposite is that Smoothie is holding on to one power clam, while TatsuGAYri, like you said, is just trying to hold out from a defensive standpoint. Baja now opting to pop their clam with 5 seconds to go. Predictably, we do see the Booyah Bomb come out, and it will take out Baja. 2 down on the side of TatsuGAYri, trying to come out here, but they lose their sloshing machine. They break the barricade. They have a couple clams. They have 1 left, but that's not going to be enough. They need 2. Now they have 2. Can they get the lead? And they do. Smoothie, in the waning seconds of overtime, able to hold it out and prove that their #1 seed is earned as they take this set in Game 5 over TatsuGAYri.
And everybody in chat just takes a huge, heavy sigh of relief. Now that you know you've won like 2 channel points coming out net positive. Great crab there by Boopy at the very end, popping it in front of the basket, creating the space and just body blocking, getting a couple of splats along the way. Is Smoothie able to bounce back? But I gotta tell you, it's at this level that these teams are playing with, because these players are all right with each other. It's one little mistake, and it might not even seem like a mistake at the time, but one little mistake is what instantly flips the script back and forth radically from one side to the other. It looked like Tatsu, man, going back to that one though, I wonder if Tatsu probably should have been more aggressive. We saw them build up the specials, and it looks like they were just trying to endure. But at the flip side, it gave Smoothie the right opportunity to build up specials as well. And as soon as Dan threw that Booyah Bomb directly on the crab that had absolutely nowhere to go, that was just the beginning of the end, and Smoothie able to bounce back in what I am assuming will be a eventual rematch in Grand Finals with how those two teams were playing.
Well, I think we'll be going to a break shortly to have a commentator change, but before we do that, let's update y'all on the bracket real quick. We did see on this side, Smoothie take down TatsuGAYri. They will move on to winners finals. On the flip side of things, Ouroboros, the 15th seeded team, a brand new team forged this month, according to their Twitter, has defeated the number 3 team Half Send in a sweep 3-0 to make it into winners finals. And if you were a fan of TatsuGAYri's gameplay, they're not going anywhere yet. They will move on down to the loser side of the bracket in losers round 6. They will take on the winner of Angry Face versus NKT Definitivo. So stick around for that. Popgun, anything more you want to add before we break off?
If you are a TO for this event and you seeded Ouroboros 15th, you are a moron. And whoever signed off on the seedings of this should be ridiculed on Twitter, and rightfully so, whoever that idiot is. I do want to allow our commentators to plug themselves, but since Siren's not here, I will plug her for herself. You can catch Siren at Siren Banshee on Twitter. Siren is awesome, does a lot of stuff for the LAN scene, and always says yes when we ask her to commentate unless something else is going on, i.e. a Puss in Boots movie. But we appreciate Siren very much, and we were happy to have her when she was here. Zach, where can people find you?
Yeah, big shout outs to Siren. She did fantastic. Popgun, thank you so much for filling in these last couple of games here for that set, which ended up being phenomenal games. I'm just on Twitter at ShinyGunterZach. I appreciate everybody who was listening, who came out. You have some fantastic commentators ahead of you, so stick around for that. But for now, we'll be taking a break before winners finals between Smoothie and Ouroboros here. It's Proving Grounds 5 on IPL Splatoon. Don't go anywhere.
All right, everyone, we are back, continuing where we left off here, but with a new set of commentators. Coming up next for Winners Finals, my name is Rissa, and I'm joined here by Walkie tonight on the mic. Walkie, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. We just came off of an amazing set in that last one. Very excited for this next one too. Smoothie versus Ouroboros. And I mean, they were mentioning it earlier, you know, Ouroboros, the 15th seed in this tournament, going up against the 1 seed. So, I mean, that's pretty exciting for them to make it all the way this far.
Oh, I know it is. And I saw, I was looking at the bracket right before we got on, and I saw NM tweet that they beat, I saw that they beat a team called Prelude, who was actually the 2nd seed. And I was like, wait a second, and I like double checked the bracket, and now they've gotten all the way to Winners Finals here that we get to watch next. So this is pretty crazy. They were able to upset the 2nd seed, able to beat Shockwave's team, Half Send, and now they're here in Winners Finals, and we get to head straight into the first game of the set to see what happens.
Yep. So far, we're taking a look at both of these comps. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Both teams pulling out that new Splattershot Junior, the custom version. So they're going to be throwing up a bunch of those echo locators. And this is a pretty good map for that. As you know, you're able to hide them right behind the zone and pretty much cover the entire area. As we already see one go down on the side of Ouroboros and Smoothie taking quick control of the zone.
This map and mode in particular can get so stally because each team kind of stays on their side and just tries to keep painting the zone safely. But when you see members like Storm here just flanking around to stop that stalling, to try and get picks to get the zone in their favor, you can see that Ouroboros did a really good job at backing up, recognizing the flanks, and now they are in control of the zone with no penalty points, counting down and getting ready to defend the zone.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned it right there. Those zones could either, you know, wipe out the enemy team and put you in a good position or go completely wrong. And that was an unfortunate situation that Storm found themselves in as Enem was able to take them down and get control of the zone. But Smoothie responding right back, using their specials pretty well. The crab tank right in the middle is going to clear pretty much all area on that right and allow most of the members of Smoothie to at least be able to paint from that zone passively, as you were mentioning, but the specials coming right back out. And yeah, I think it's really going to take one of these teams just being the bigger aggressor and having a nice strong push for them to really be able to seal the deal here.
Yeah, a lot of back and forth that we're seeing right now, like you mentioned, just kind of trying to see right now who can really get the upper hand. Right now, I mean, Ouroboros is doing a great job at coming back into the zone, making sure they're watching flanks, and we just keep seeing that time and time again. Like right now, you see that member, Boopy there, tried to flank around the left side of the map, and NM and Dizzy, I believe that was, just turned instantly and were able to catch that flank and stop it right away. Stuff like that is so important to make sure you have team play and synergy like that. Finally, though, for Smoothie, they were able to take down 2 members of Ouroboros. We see Storm here pushing up with Boopy, capitalizing on getting that 3rd member, recognizing where this last member is, and getting essentially a complete wipe, finally getting the zone, getting ready to defend.
Yep, nice strong push coming out of Smoothie. And now we finally see one of the teams has like complete control of the enemy court. It's going to be very hard for Ouroboros to come back into this one. Definitely the lead right there going over to Smoothie. The specials are going to be coming out, but now they're looking where they're sending them in from their own side of the map rather than the middle. And that's still going to be allowing Smoothie to at least be able to have a chance at defending as their specials come right back. And this is actually looking really good for Smoothie as all the members of Ouroboros are kind of backing up. Actually, I mentioned that, though. 2 members go down on the other side, and now things are really up in the air as a 2v2 for mid. One goes down, and Smoothie just able to take control once again. But I didn't want to say that, and it's just going back and forth here, Rissa.
It is just constantly back and forth. Both teams, you know, it seems like one team is going to get the other upper hand, and then all of a sudden another team, the other team just does something that completely separates that, and it's just constantly back and forth. I mean, this map in mode in particular, definitely see this happen a lot. Lockouts are pretty difficult to make happen on this map, and we're seeing that happen right now as each team is just continuing to go back and forth. Specials coming out, that wave breaker, that crab coming out from Smoothie right now is allowing them to cap the zone, once again give those penalty points over to Ouroboros, and you can see they're painting around, getting their specials ready to defend, and we still do have 1 minute and 30 seconds left on the clock, so anything can happen with the rest of this game.
Yeah, right now Dan's going to get taken down over on that right side. That's going to allow members of Ouroboros to kind of move on in. We see at the bottom of our screen there, Scotty actually able to take down Balloon, and that's going to open up things for Ouroboros. And this is the first time we kind of see them pushing up onto the enemy plat here, and I like it from Scotty. It wasn't working out when we were being so passive. Let's try to be more aggressive and trying to put Smoothie on their heels here. He is going to have to back out. But that at least allowed for them to clear that penalty timer and maybe able to control the zone for a bit as it's going back and forth with these specials. Things might be looking decent for Ouroboros if they're able to just get this cap and not allow the penalty timer to go back in their direction.
Ouroboros is doing such a good job at trying to stall the zone here in the last 36 points that they had there. You can see, I think that was Scotty there, tried to flank around to capitalize on the zone being stalled. Smoothie, though, able to call that out. And once again, we're in the last 30 seconds of this in a position where both teams are up right now, painting the zone, trying to stagger out specials here and see who can get the upper hand, as each team knows they can't go down right now in the last 15 seconds of this. They need to do something here if you're Ouroboros, if you want to get your points down and go into overtime.
Yeah, we see Scotty here on the flank, going to try to make something happen, but none of his teammates are around to paint the zone, so Scotty's not going to be able to really do it himself. That is going to be the game going over to Smoothie 1-0. Back and forth fight between both of these teams, but we just saw Smoothie had that one push that was just better than the rest. And that kind of really helped them secure that victory. Ouroboros kind of tried to get that going with Scotty, but he was immediately pushed back, and they weren't really able to capitalize as much points as they wanted off of that. So kudos to Smoothie getting game one here, but Ouroboros definitely still in this one.
Yeah, it seemed like, at first it seemed like Ouroboros was the team that was holding the zone and then flanking around to Smoothie. And then it seemed like slowly Smoothie started adapting to the way Ouroboros was playing and recognizing they were doing that. And then eventually towards the end, we got to see how Smoothie was recognizing the flanks Ouroboros was doing and putting a stop to those. And that's something I've gotten to see Smoothie get really big recently as a team and really consistent. And I think that's one of the biggest things about them is that they just are really good at adapting to what the other team is doing and playing around that and playing really fast around that. So I think in the middle of that game, we saw them, that light switch click on and them start to do that there.
Yep. Definitely saw Smoothie adapt pretty well. As you mentioned there, Scotty was trying to go on those flanks. A member or two would be able to call it out. Or even if, one person was dealing with that flank, the rest of Smoothie was just pushing forward into the rest of Scotty's team and able to take them down. So even if Scotty made something happen with the flank, it didn't really matter because the rest of his team was down. So Smoothie, really strong opening game right there. As we move on to now, we're in winners finals. We're dealing with counter picks. So very interested to see what Ouroboros feels like is their strongest mode, their strongest map. And that can be a difficult thing to decide. As you mentioned, this team is relatively new, so they're still trying to figure things out here.
Yeah, still trying to figure out, what they want to play, maybe what maps they like in particular, or what they think might be good against Smoothie. Like I highlighted too, Smoothie is just really, really good at adapting to, I feel like, not only playing against teams, but also maps and modes in particular. So if you're Ouroboros, I think you really have to really think about how you want to play this and what you want to play here. And think about too, each of these teams, neither of them had an anchor or a backline presence on their team, so both of them are going to be playing that really, really fast play style. So when you think about counter picks, definitely have to keep that in mind and think about, okay, what do we want to play potentially that we think we might be comfortable with and we might win on.
Yeah, you mentioned there. I feel like a couple of these past proving grounds, we've seen these winners and grand finals of teams just being really aggressive. In this current meta, mostly with splashes and other strong shooters that are just able to really take the fight to the enemy team. Really, proving themselves strong in this meta, and that's what most of these higher level teams are finding they're most comfortable with here, able to get results with them. And I'd be surprised if Ouroboros really changed things up here. But we did see Smoothie in the last set. They were going up against a heavy Splatling, and that gave them a little bit of trouble. So it's possible, if you want to mix something up, try to go with some type of backline. It might throw Smoothie for a loop, but it also just depends on what personnel you have and if someone's able to really accomplish that effectively.
Yeah, that's a good point to think about. If you're watching and seeing on the stream what Smoothie has previously done and who they were playing up against and how they played up against them, that's a good point to think about. Okay, we saw them struggle against this weapon in particular, this type of range. Is there anything that we can do to mirror that and have that type of comp in our comp as well? And speaking of, looks like game 2 is picked here in terms of the counter picks that came out. So Ouroboros has picked tower control on Inkblock Art Academy. Definitely, I love this map and mode. It's, you know, we all played it in Splatoon 2. It's very familiar, so I think this is a nice, safe, and comfortable counter pick to go to.
Yeah, and we did see it actually in the last set Smoothie played in. They did end up winning that game versus TatsuGAYri, but it was very close back and forth between them, and it kind of looked like TatsuGAYri was actually going to win it until a last-minute push coming out from Smoothie. So Ouroboros, you know, they at least know that you know, Smoothie isn't some dominant powerhouse on this map, and they definitely have a chance here as we go into the game here. Very interested to see if anybody mixes anything up. We might see maybe a junior coming out. Yep, NM is going to be bringing out the junior. That bubble is very strong on tower control, able to secure those checkpoints, and we see the same thing coming out of Smoothie here, Rissa.
Yeah, same thing coming out of Smoothie. Main thing I see is Storm. I don't think Storm was playing. I think Storm was playing Gal last game. I don't remember. I'm mixing up the last set that was on stream too. But Storm going to be playing T-Tech this time, Splattershot this time regardless instead of Gal here. So both teams rushing into meet here, trying to see who can get the upper hand right away. And it looks like actually Ouroboros will be the team that gets 2 picks onto Smoothie, and they are able to capitalize off of that, get a 3rd pick, and get the tower right away to start clearing this first checkpoint.
Yeah, and especially though this first checkpoint relatively easy to get, you know, if you know you're able to get that first team fight win, and that actually is gonna allow Ouroboros to at least have this bubble on the tower now for this next checkpoint, which is a crucial one to get through and often, you know, could stall out most pushes. So they're already through that in the opening minute of the game here. Very strong push coming out from Ouroboros as they're still pushing. Dizzy trying to make things happen up front. Booyah Bomb is going to come out. Knows most of the members on the side of Smoothie are on that left side. Going to toss that up and try to help their team members here. Oh, Storm in a bad position. That's a wipeout. And now Rissa, they're already on that last checkpoint.
Already on the last checkpoint, NM getting jumps to the tower. That way, Ouroboros can just continue this aggression, and we barely even got to talk about what happened in this game. It was a complete KO for Game 2. Ouroboros actually taking this Game 2 in a complete KO. Smoothie not able to even get any points on the board for this one.
Not only were they not even able to get any points on the board, it didn't even seem like they were able to get anyone near the tower there as Ouroboros completely shuts them out. So, you know, great counter picking coming out from them.
Yeah.
I was saying, you know, it could be hard for a new team to know exactly what their strengths are, but it seemed like Ouroboros came out very confident in that one. And I think something we talked upon there was just how important, you know, getting past that second checkpoint there was with that bubble. Mm-hmm. And just the fact that they didn't have to waste that early in the team fight or on that first checkpoint, I think really helped them secure, you know, just those extra points, allow Dizzy and the rest of their team to push up, get those picks that were needed. And from there, Smoothie just never was able to even step foot anywhere near that tower or even make any type of stance.
Mm-hmm. I liked how, you know, I feel like Junior has kind of, you know, gone a little bit away from the meta currently. It's still definitely around, but it's not necessarily in the meta as much as it was in the beginning. Support players are typically switching over to Splash so that way they can spam Crab. But getting to see the Junior here on Ouroboros use that bubbler really, really effectively, I feel like that really, really slowed down any momentum that Smoothie had going, like you said, Walkie, and it just was a really cool thing to see because we don't typically get to see that a lot. It's mostly, you know, Crabs and Splashes that are doing that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's kind of like the beauty of, you know, playing all the 4 modes is, you know, certain modes are really, you know, akin to having specials that work just for them. That Bubble's, I think, always going to be at least usable on tower control, able to get you those checkpoints. So good on Ouroboros to recognize that and use it to perfection there. Now we're going on to game number 3, Splat Zones on Sturgeon Shipyard. And obviously we saw in that first game, Smoothie able to win on Splat Zones. They want to bring it right back to it.
going right back to splat zones. And I love how fast these counter picks are coming in. We love fast counter picks. Getting to go straight away into game 3. You could tell that these teams, you know, they are in the game right now. We are in winners finals here. Both teams are bringing it as we are tied 1-1 right now. And instantly, right away here, one member of Smoothie going down. That Gal does go down right away and allows Ouroboros to take the zone right away and start counting down points on their side.
Yeah, we saw Boopy kind of forced into using that crab from that low ground, and that's not really going to be able to get them much there. They are going to be able to, though, to go in and get the pick onto Scotty as they were jumping in, able to get the zone from it as well. Thinks that there's someone under there. They were right, and now they are able to get that pick, and now things are looking very good for Smoothie as they kind of have control of, you know, center map, trying to push on forward, and Boopy looking to take control of their snipe as well with that crab. And this is a much better position to use that crab in from the low ground.
Yeah, being able to use that crab from up high like that makes it a lot more stally and difficult for the other team to even be able to push in through that. Now we can see Ouroboros trying to push into the zone, but the defense right now from Smoothie is looking really good. And I didn't see how those two members of Smoothie went down, but this is the perfect moment for Ouroboros to capitalize. And no, unfortunately, there's going to be a DC on the side of Smoothie, so I'm not sure if I'm not a pro on DC rules, but I don't know if they're going to be able to play this zone out or not.
It seems like Smoothie is stopping, and they've ended the match as well, so possibly a replay situation. They were in the lead, so maybe that factors into it. I know we were past a minute in the game at that point. You know, some tournaments like to call it a minute mark, but they were in the lead, so definitely interested to see what's going to happen here. You know, score hasn't changed so far from our perspective, still 1-1. So I think we'll probably end up replaying this one, especially at winners finals. A lot of the time, you know, the TOs or so at this point in the game, if it's not going to stall up the tournament, just allow the teams to decide what they want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, I mean, like I said, when the game 3 started, the counter picks are coming in fast. This feels like it's moving pretty smoothly, so definitely don't see why not there wouldn't be a replay on that one. And it seemed, I mean, it started out like a really evenly felt match, and both teams were, you know, again, it felt kind of like that Hagglefish market game that we watched initially, back and forth, just both teams trying to get the upper hand right away, and it felt pretty even starting out there.
Yeah, it definitely did. Obviously, Ouroboros kind of took, I guess, the bigger punch early. You know, Smoothie able to put up a decent amount of points on the board for themselves there. So now, you know, Ouroboros has a chance to redeem themselves and see exactly what went wrong. And honestly, I think it just came down to Boopy making some good plays, pushing on forward, and they weren't really ready to deal with that splash-o-matic. But this time, if they're able to just, you know, win that 1v1, things could turn out completely different for them in this replay.
I know, and I was thinking about the last thing we saw where Boopy was crabbing on the snipe area, something that I didn't even think about, but I feel like Dizzy on the machine has not only been good at just using the main weapon, the fizzies, but also being able to recognize that you need to or are able to use the Booyah Bomb to cancel out those crabs. I think that's something that Dizzy has been doing a really good job at, and I'm sure we'll get to see more of that as we are headed back into Game 3. Gonna replay this one since there was initially a DC.
Yep, here we go. Teams obviously can't change up any of their weapons, so we're going right back into it with the same things here. We see 3 already on the side of Ouroboros trying to approach that zone from the bottom, and they're being pushed by the crab now on that left side. And that's a little bit of a better crab position we see. They did drop down initially at the end there, but they were from a higher position, able to just rain down on the zone, and that's going to allow Smoothie to get pretty much full control. They do know that one's underneath once again. Are they going to, you know, jump on for it? And actually that player does go down, so Smoothie now in pretty decent control as Ouroboros kind of throwing specials at the zone, but they only have 2 members, so they're not really going to be able to capitalize off of it here, Rissa.
Yeah, unfortunately, there with 2 members down, that Booyah Bomb wasn't quite able to get any capitalization or any picks or any momentum for Ouroboros. So now Smoothie is just recognizing that, able to just continue to stall out these members of Ouroboros and make sure that they hold their specials and get ready to use them for defense. Ouroboros, on the other hand, has to get ready to use their specials together and try and push it together. But with 1 member going down, unfortunately, I don't know if they'll be able to do a big enough push to get into the zone.
Yeah, they all kind of went towards the bottom of our screen right there. Are able to get one, but not enough in time to get that zone. And that's going to be Smoothie taking game 2 very, very quickly there. But just to, go back to that a little bit, we saw Ouroboros, a lot of their members were on our bottom of their screen, the right of theirs, of the zone for themselves. And, every player on Smoothie kind of recognized that, and we saw a player flank all the way around. They were kind of pincered in between the members that were on the zone and that flanking member, and they were not really able to deal with it in time. And that sometimes that's all you really need to do. You don't need to win the fights, just stall them out long enough in those last 15 or so seconds to, just keep the zone in your favor and win the game.
Yeah, Smoothie did a really good job at that. I mean, they didn't even, like you said, they didn't even push in further than they needed to. They just I'm sure they were in VC, calling out, okay, hey, there's only this amount of time left. We just need to make sure we stay alive, hold the zone, and we're going to win this. And that's exactly what they did. And it seemed like they just, from that first game that we saw where there was a DC, felt like a really good adaptation that they did. They just didn't push in too far. They made sure that they were playing more together and more synergized.
Yeah, now it's back on Ouroboros to kind of counterpick here. We do know that they are going to be going over to Clam Blitz. So that's interesting for them. Museum and Eeltail are banned. Interested to see what Ouroboros decides to go with, as their final pick here. And Clam Blitz obviously is a mode that we haven't seen either of these teams play on against each other. And we are going to be going back to Inkling Art Academy just this time on Clam Blitz. So very interesting. They really must seem to like this map. And it really worked out for them in the last game. But, Clam Blitz and Tower Control are pretty different, I would say, on this map.
Yeah, definitely very different, similar in some instances, but when it comes to Clam Blitz, of course, there's getting past that drop area and getting onto the other team's plat. That can be pretty tricky if the other team has their defense set up really good. So that is the main thing that comes to mind when I think about Clam Blitz on Inkling Art Academy. And like you said, since Ouroboros won it previously, it definitely makes sense that they did come back to this. So let's see what these team comps are as we get ready to go into game 4.
Yeah, not much changing on Smoothie's side. They've got the double splash, the Gal, and that Forge Pro coming out from Dan. And then on the other side, I don't think Ouroboros changed anything either. They had the custom junior in the last one. They brung out with it again. And we already saw Boopy going down. I didn't even see to who there as they were taken down right away. Another one goes down, Balloon. And now Dan has the power clamp, but has to back all the way up pretty much into their spawn. Storm now is kind of pincered between every player on the side of Ouroboros, but able to make something happen. They're taking down the Crab, taking down another one, and Storm, faced back against the wall right there, but able to at least create a lot of room for Smoothie to get themselves back into mid and maybe get a push right here.
Yeah, I really like how Storm created that big opening for Smoothie to potentially try and take here. You saw Smoothie there just instantly push up through mid as soon as Storm got those 2 picks initially. Now with 3 members down on the side of Ouroboros, this looks like the perfect moment for Smoothie to get a push going. Balloon there holding that ball, gonna push up and does score that power clam in. Boopy here getting a few more clams in, and now a good opening push for Smoothie. Let's see if they can get more clams to continue it.
Yeah, Dan able to get 2 more in there. They still do have clams from Storm. Storm's going to get taken down, though, on a trade. Nice plays from Ouroboros to kind of call out Storm Shark right there and take him down before he was able to pull off any more heroics, as he's already done in this game. Dan over here on the plat there. the members of Ouroboros, you know, have full control of mid, so Dan's in a pretty bad position here at force back, but they've set up their defense pretty well, and now have all their members to at least try to put up a defense. And as I say that, though, 2 of their members are going to be taken down, and now Ouroboros has to move quickly if they want to score here. We see 2 of the members still in mid. They don't have a power clam at the ready yet, as they're trying to make one, but they're taking just a little bit too long to kind of form it here, and this is just allowing Smoothie to get right back into this one.
Yeah, you can see them just trying to, you know, rush there and get a clam going. And now, as they finally got a clam going, Ouroboros actually has to completely back up because Smoothie has come back in full force, already taken mid here, and recognized that Ouroboros wasn't able to get a push going. So you can see Smoothie here with Dan using this Booyah Bomb to try and just stagger out Ouroboros, and it looks like it's working pretty well as Smoothie now is able to get a power clam. They do have 17 clams at the ready, so they are trying to get in a position here to get a push going.
Yeah, we see Dan right here was putting some pressure onto their plat there, but is going to back out, able to get one with the help of a teammate right there, and Dan barely survives against that killer whale. And now, once again, Storm coming in to save the day allows Dan to stay alive, and once again, they're going to be able to get a push going if they're just able to create the power clam. They do once again, and Smoothie just looking very strong in this game. Ouroboros not really able to do much. They're just the slower team, I would say, thus far in this game.
Yeah, Ouroboros constantly having to be on the defense, and they have had these little moments where it looks like they can definitely get a push going, and we still do have a minute and 40 seconds left of this match. So as Ouroboros is trying to get into mid here, they are able to take one member of Smoothie down, but Storm is right there on the flank, as he always is, able to take down 1 or 2 members of Ouroboros there. So Smoothie here once again in control of mid, has 5 clams right now. They just need to get a few more clams ready if they want to get a big push going here, but they are just doing such a good job at holding mid and not letting Ouroboros get into mid.
Scotty winning the 1v1 up against Storm, I believe there, and that's actually going to be pretty big as Scotty now able to clear out most of the plat. They do finally have a power clam at the ready, so if they're just able to push on forward, should be able to score. NM though unfortunately is going to get taken down. Good job by Dan and Balloon kind of to play defense there. Scotty's going to pick it up, throw it in, but there really might not be too much follow-up. As I say that, though, they do manage to get one pick. Oh, the crab coming out, though, to kind of shut things down. And yeah, that's not going to be much follow-up coming out from Ouroboros. It was a start, but they're going to need a lot more than that in these last 40 seconds if they want to win this game and you know, keep their dreams alive here in Winners Finals.
They are. They're going to have to start thinking about their clam economy right now, and it's looking really difficult because Smoothie has 18 clams at the ready. It looks like Smoothie is just holding mid and just hoarding clams to themselves. They are not letting Ouroboros even get into mid to get any clams for themselves. Ouroboros here trying to do everything they can to get into mid, but Smoothie holding mid, watching all these angles, watching these both sides of the map, left and right, and making sure Ouroboros cannot get into mid. Smoothie, you know, might as well here. They go ahead and score a power climb in, and with only 1 member left up on the side of Ouroboros, that's going to be it. The basket wasn't able to close to cause overtime for Ouroboros. Smoothie is going to take that game 4 and move on into grand finals.
Yeah, great showing from Smoothie right there from pretty much start to finish of that game. Looking very strong. Nice showing though from Ouroboros too. I think if they're able to find themselves in grand finals and once again up against Smoothie, they prove that they can at least go toe to toe with them if they just fix up a couple, you know, small things here and there. And I mean, that comes with being a new team. You're gonna make some small mistakes, but things you can easily fix. I think in that game we saw a couple of situations where they could have took advantage of, but unfortunately things did not go in their favor at the beginning. We saw Storm kind of backed up against the wall, but able to win a 1v2 situation basically and get Smoothie back into it. And that's the type of things you can't lose if you want to win at Winners Finals. You can't lose a 2v1 to one player. So that's things that they have to clean up. And then also later on in the game, we were both mentioning it, they had a good push going, but they didn't have the clams to kind of back it up. And that really stalled them out. If they were able to have those clams like Smoothie always seemed to have after a clean team fight, they might have been able to put up a much stronger push.
It seemed like, you know, that one big push They definitely had the specials. They had made the space, and the individual players had all the clams. They just weren't able to quite get the communication down to recognize, hey, let's all throw all of our clams to, NM, for example. And they weren't able to quite get there, but there was definitely the potential for that to happen. I felt like they had the aggression when they had their push going. They had the specials ready. They just needed to make sure that they were able to get all those clams ready. So definitely hints there of them being able to take that game, absolutely. And they are not out of the tournament yet. They have gone down into the losers side of the bracket. So we will be seeing them again as loser bracket is still making its course due here. And looking at loser side of the bracket, we are just waiting for one more set here. Right now it's Half Send versus Prelude. Right now that set is at 1-1, so we are just kind of waiting to see who wins that set, to see who we will be watching next on stream.
Yeah, and Half Send versus Prelude, 2 and 3 seed of this tournament. So one of them is going to be going home early after that set, I believe at 5th place or so. Prelude, though, we mentioned that they were actually the ones knocked into the losers bracket by Ouroboros early in the tournament, and so they've been on a losers run for quite some time now, looking to push that into losers semis. Just need one more game to do it here, so interested to see how they respond going up against Half Send, who showed some pretty good showings up in the winners bracket, losing to Ouroboros in that winners semis.
Yeah, we got to see some really good stuff from them, absolutely. And I'm sure that set, right now their set, since it's 1-1, that is a best of 3. So we're waiting for that last game to see who wins that. I'm sure that's a really good set. That has got to be close, especially since the score shows how close that is. And then on the other side of the bracket, it was TatsuGAYri versus NKT Definitivo. Wanted to make sure I said that correctly. That set went 2-0, NKT Definitivo winning that set. So they are the team that is waiting on the loser side of the bracket, waiting for the Half Send versus Prelude set to see who wins that.
Yeah, we actually just got word as you were saying that Prelude did defeat Half Send, so they're continuing this losers bracket run. And they're going to be playing NKT Definitivo in our losers semifinals. 2 seed going up against the 7th seed to try and verse the 15th seed here as things are, really shaken up so far in this iteration of Proving Grounds. A real exciting one. Excited to see how Prelude responds, knowing that their backs have been up against this wall the whole time in losers bracket, but still able to come out and put on a performance that hopefully they're proud of.
I'm excited to see Prelude play because they've definitely been on the grind in terms of scrims and tournaments recently. So getting to see them here on stream is going to be really cool. They have been working on, getting better as a team, and seeing them make their way all the way through losers bracket this far comes to show how much they are working together and trying to get better as a team. And then NKT Definitivo, I actually haven't got to see them play in quite some time, so it's always great getting to see a team that you don't always get to see typically play, or have never even seen them play, getting to see how they play and what weapons they play.
Yeah, so definitely, NKT Definitivo has the element of surprise, at least in terms of the stream. We don't know how much Prelude is familiar with them, but as we mentioned, these guys have been pretty professional so far, winning their way round after round in the losers bracket. And I think that comes with, just having some experience. Yeah, they dropped early, but sometimes experience is all you need to get through the losers bracket. And they've got some players that have been around for a long time. They've got Umbre, they've got Ace, players that, have proven themselves in a variety of tournaments and are looking to do so once again here today.
Oh, absolutely. And I think one thing too that's going to be cool to see about Prelude, I'm not sure if Pulp is playing tonight, but Pulp is a really, really good Charger player to watch play. So far I haven't got to see any. Well, we got to see the Splatling player. Excuse me. I was gonna say we hadn't seen any Anchor players play yet, but got to see Rydia play previously on the stream. on the anchor role. But so far as we've been on the cast, we haven't got to see an anchor player yet. So we'll see once the team comps come out and all that and go over all that, of course. But getting to see an anchor player play will be fun to watch.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, as we see on screen here, is we're actually going to be going back to the same exact map we just saw. It's going to be Clan Blitz on Inkblot Art Academy. So interested to see how much this may play out differently if a team member does pull out something like a charger or other anchor weapon. Will they be able to put on a much stronger defense, or will they kind of fall down similarly to how we saw in the last game with some pure aggression coming out and able to just push themselves onto the enemy plat? So definitely a couple interesting strategies that could come out in this next one, as we see the rosters for both of these teams here. And like I said, very interested to see what both of these teams bring out here.
And when we think about, for me personally, for NKT Definitivo, I haven't necessarily got to watch them play in a while, and so this is always fun when you are a commentator or are a viewer, and there's a team on the stream that you haven't necessarily got to see play in a while. Always fun to watch for the first time and really get a feel for them firsthand, especially since they've made it this far through the bracket. I mean, definitely shows that they have something cooking in terms of the way they're playing in their comps. So starting out here, finally getting to see these team comps come out for game 1.
Yeah, and actually, you were mentioning we don't just see one backline, but we see two, one on each side. Pulp going out with the E leader, and we see the Splat Charger coming out on the side of Prelude there. Actually, I believe the teams are mixed up. I believe Prelude is in blue, and NK Definitivo is in yellow. So here we see both teams just kind of feeling each other out, and nobody really making too many strong moves here. We see Nitro on the left trying to go into a 1v1 situation, is going to get taken down though. Teammate able to clean it up though, and it seems like so far Prelude has the upper hand in the fact that they have, most of the middle of the map in their color, but no team really able to make a power clam or really push up onto the enemy side just quite yet. But if Prelude keeps this up, slow and steady, will be able to get them a strong push if they're just able to keep the members of NK Definitivo on their heels here.
Yeah, right now Prelude just kind of needs to let NKT use their specials, which they did exactly that. Umbre here holding this Booyah Bomb. He thought about throwing it at the crab, but decided not to. Decided to just throw it up even further just to stall out. Specials actually coming out really, really fastly in turn from NKT, and that is actually allowing Brian here to push up really aggressively through that tri-strike with their teammates, and suddenly NKT has taken control of mid, and mid has swapped over to yellow.
Yeah, but as we say that, two go down on the side of NKT. Brian, though, able to at least, keep his team alive here. Able to get one pick and then dodge a couple players, but is going to get taken down, I believe, to Umbre right there on that sloshing machine. And now Umbre's created space for his team on this left side. Once again, we already see Nitro up ahead on their plat. Oh, but does Umbre know that there's a player right above him? Now he does, as they threw that burst bomb towards him. Crab Tank is going to get pulled out for NKT and kind of clear up the members of Prelude. But yeah, they are able to clear up Nitro on that plat here and put up a strong defense once again. So, back and forth game for the most part. No team really able to take advantage of any of the other team's blunders here.
Both teams are really just kind of stalling out to see who is going to make a mistake first, who can get the picks first to get a push going. And suddenly a whole bunch of picks come out from both sides all at once, and suddenly that's a complete wipe onto NKT. This is the opening for Prelude that they needed to get a push going, and they did have the clams ready to follow up that initial power clam to get a few more points on the board. So getting their score all the way down to 62, not a huge push, but definitely a good push to get the ball rolling in terms of points on the board.
Yeah, and I mean, we've 3 minutes into the game, and that was the first push. So that could end up being the game-winning push right there, as both of these teams haven't really been able to make too much happen on the enemy side other than that one. So interested to see how NKT responds. So far, they are responding fairly well. We see them taking one player out. Notices Swish over on the right side right there. Is going to just back out, though, and maybe claim some ground on the enemy plat. Oh, is he going to be able to take down Umbre? And they are. The jump in is going to be coming in. You have to assume that that might be with the power clam. No, it actually isn't. Brian just going to come in with that splatter shot, is going to get taken down. And I mean, if he was going to jump in, maybe he should have just went for picking up the power clam first. We do see somebody eventually do it, but that's not going to be enough for the lead here. And now they're going to have to rebuild another clam in this last minute and 20 or so here.
NKT just having to sit back, and as Prelude was able to recognize that essentially that was a complete wipe onto NKT, this is the opening for Prelude to be able to push up and act aggressively. Swish here getting the first initial pick onto launch, and that is potentially the opening here for Prelude to get a push going. You can see they're making sure that they are clearing their sides, teaming up together, doing a really good job, it looks like, at calling out who is dropping on the sides on the side of NKT. And now Prelude able to score a power clam in. Umbre jumping in with another power clam. That is going to allow Prelude to get their score all the way down to 41 in the last 40 seconds of this, continuing to add on to their score.
Yeah, we saw Nitro there at the end of that push, just harassing a couple of members on the side of NKT, making sure that they couldn't get mid free while his teammates were respawning. And now it's going to be a fight for mid. Not only does NKT have to deal with all the members of Prelude coming back into the middle of the map, but they have to collect clams. Things are not looking too good for them as they're fighting both the clock and the enemy team here. They have a decent amount of clams to at least maybe form a power clam, but actually their main clam carrier does go down right there, and they're going to have to fight for it, as actually Pulp able to secure a power clam. As I say that though, they were able to form a power clam, so we are getting overtime here. They just need to make something happen. The Crab Tick is going to try to take down Pulp there. Not able to get them taken down just yet, but they are creating a decent amount of ground for themselves. They just need to be able to get a pick or two to allow themselves to come in. And no, 2 members of their team, 3 members now are going to take it down. That's a full wipe, and Prelude is going to come out with game number 1. A little bit of a back and forth, but for the most part, Prelude was in control of that game.
Prelude seemed like they were just able to have consistent map control there and consistent communication in terms of what NKT was doing and where they were going on the map. So NKT definitely, had signs of life there as they were starting to get some pushes going, like there we got to see right at the end. They just weren't quite able to get that map control that they needed, and then the clams for getting the lead to get more points on the board. Prelude just had a really, really, strong hold on mid and flanks and all the members of where NKT Definitivo were.
Yeah, so good showing coming out from them here. The next map that we are going to be seeing in this matchup is going to be Splat Zones on Mako Mart. So, we saw in the last game both teams coming out with, backlines. The backlines could definitely be used here fairly effectively if you're just able to secure, a nice control for yourself. It can really put the pressure on the enemy team and not really give them the chance to come back into the middle of the map. So interested to see if either of these teams elects to continue with the backlines, or do they want to go with something else to put up, maybe a little bit more painting power.
Yeah, in terms of, splat zones, when you think of anchor players too, you definitely think of typically E-leaders, sometimes chargers too, and that's exactly what we've seen from both of these teams. So when you think about the last 2 teams that we got to watch on stream, neither of them had an anchor player, and they were playing a lot faster. It seemed like both of the teams that we got to watch, and I think it's really cool that we get to watch each of these teams having an anchor player, having a charger player, and seeing how different the pacing is, and just seeing the way that these 2 teams are adapting around each team having that charger player too.
Yep, very, very interesting to see how both of these teams, kind of adapt to that situation. Because, you might, the last game that you played against another team, you might not have had to deal with that backline, and that can really open up things for your team. And now you have to deal with, the pressure of that long range coming out from the other team. And we do see NKT switching it off. They are going to be moving from that Splat charger over to now an E-leader. So that's going to give them a little bit more range. And I like it because it also gives them that wave breaker, which is so good on controlling so much area in these Splat Zones maps, where you're able to just place it behind, maybe some cover and to control the whole splat zone for your team, as we see Prelude actually getting taken down at the beginning there. 2 of their members going down, and Pulp's going to have to back up as NKT has decent amount of control here in mid, and now Pulp trying to make something happen, reorganize himself onto the left side here, and but is going to get taken down right away by that Crab Tank. And you might have a backline, but sometimes Crab Tank is just an even better backline there.
Yeah, this is showing exactly why Crab Tank is, so much in the meta right now. Able to instantly take down Pulp there on the E leader. Now, in a turn of events, though, Prelude able to suddenly capitalize on getting the zone here and pushing in together. You can see all the frontliners of Prelude able to push forward and just rush the members of NKT that were left up in the zone. Now pushing up and just acting really aggressively to make sure that they get in positions to hold the zone and not let NKT come into the zone at all.
Yeah, we saw Prelude use their specials a little bit early there. That tri-strike that they had was used in the enemy spawn rather than on the defense. And that's going to mean that they don't really have anything to really defend except, for their guns at this point. And so far, it's working out for them pretty well. A couple members of NKT are fighting in the zone. The Crab Tanks are coming out. They've got the double Crab Tank to try and clear up some ground for themselves and force a couple members down. Are going to get one taken down there at the bottom of our screen. That's the second one, and that should open up things for them to possibly cap the zone, but no, 2 members actually are going to go down here as the counter Crab Tank kind of, helps them out there, and they just weren't able to secure that pick quickly enough, and actually this might be Prelude winning the game if NKT doesn't do anything quickly here.
Prelude just knows that they need to paint the zone. We saw Nitro there just holding the zone, knowing that their points were counting down so fast, and Pulp just watching over Nitro there, just making sure that no one was going to rush Nitro, and that played out so fast there at the end. I love the recognition from Prelude just to make sure that they guarded the zone and painted, and that allowed them to completely KO that game number 2.
Yeah, NKT showed signs of life in both of those games, but just wasn't able to come down and just secure those little bit of pushes that they need. We saw there was one player trying to, win a 1v1 situation in the zone, and by the time they were able to win that, then another member from Prelude came in, and, at that point, you need to decide, am I just going to, Hail Mary this and try to take them out, or should I try and survive and wait for my team? Unfortunately, wasn't able to, make a decisive decision there, and, time was ticking down, and they weren't able to, secure that zone right back. So kudos to Prelude for putting on a good show there, and they're going to be finding themselves up in losers finals up against Ouroboros, the team that initially knocked them into the losers bracket.
Ooh, always love to see it. Always love to see a rematch that ends up happening later on in the bracket. So with Prelude being the 2nd seed and being taken out by the 15th seed Ouroboros, we get to see them have that rematch here in losers finals. And this set does not have counter picks like we've previously saw on winners finals. So this is going to be a best of 3, and I feel like this is going to be a really spicy best of 3 that we get to watch.
Yeah, because, Prelude has to know at this point what went wrong for them in that set, and are they able to make the adjustments? We talked about it earlier, having a backline up against an aggressive comp like Ouroboros has been showing thus far. It could either be a good thing if you're able to get control, but if you're not able to get control, it can spell your doom quickly, as you just aren't able to make those plays to get yourself back into the middle of the map. So it could, work out really well for them, or it could spell their demise rather quickly here. And the first map that we are going to be playing is Rainmaker Scorch Gorge. So interested to see what comps these teams elect to bring out here.
I have a feeling we'll get to see what we've typically seen from Ouroboros. They were, from what we got to see on stream, they were not switching up their comp. They were sticking to the same thing consistently. And, Prelude, they do little tweaks here and there to their comp just to adapt to what the map and mode is. And like you said, Walkie, since Prelude has already played against this team, they have to know what went wrong in that set that they fought them initially. and I'm sure they'll be able to figure out what they need to do to adapt here. And this team was instantly in the lobby. We are going straight into losers finals here. Game 1, Ouroboros versus Prelude.
Interesting to see that Ouroboros is actually bringing out an NZAP, a weapon that we don't see too much in the current meta. But you know, definitely those tacticoolers can keep up the pressure and allow your team to just keep up their push during a mode like Rainmaker. So let's see how that plays into the game here, as NM already puts out a tacticooler and is able to take down Nitro. Fortunately though, they are able to get a trade in return, and things are looking pretty decent for Ouroboros. Prelude already on their heels here, as Dizzy just moving on up and trying to make something happen. Is going to be taken down by Swish though. Nice play from Swish to try and just keep them out for the moment and allow their teammates to respawn. But NM's going to be coming in with that Rainmaker and is going to take it down by Swish once again. So Swish making some big plays to allow their team to defend there, and now they're going to be on the offense here.
I love that Prelude has instantly picked up the Rainmaker. Swish here just crabbing right away. Being able to play really fast like this can be so good, especially for Rainmaker, a game mode that is really, really fast. And this has allowed Prelude to get this first checkpoint already. Swish here grabbing the Rainmaker and going to continue getting points on the board for Prelude.
Yeah, 44, a decent push, especially considering that you do have numbers for the time being. Are they going to be able to pop it up against that Gal? They do, and that's going to be a couple extra points right there for them. The wipeout is going to be coming back, and Scotty's going to be trying to paint up in mid to claim as much ground as possible and keep get a push going right back in the other side. We already see the members of Ouroboros nearing that goal here. Are they going to be able to break it? They do. And also the crab tank coming in just to make sure that nobody gets any type of flank going. But I think they recognize that all the members of Prelude are in front of them and maybe try to deal with that as a team, though, as Hope, I believe, is going to get a nice pick onto that member of Ouroboros here. And things are looking pretty strong for Prelude, as they, you know, have responded quite well here on defense and offense.
They're making sure that they are synergizing and playing really well together. I love that we're getting to see the way that Pulp was able to set up there on the left and stop the Rainmaker completely, making sure that she is using this wave breaker on the drop and pushing into mid to play around her teammates really nicely. Prelude now completely in control of mid here, but with Ouroboros starting to have specials on board, both teams are just stalling out in mid. With one member, though, going down on the side of Prelude, Ouroboros looks like they are going to try and capitalize off of getting this pick.
Yeah, right now we see both teams just kind of duking it out in mid. The tacticooler is going to come out for NM, and they're just going to pick up the Rainmaker off of that. We see 2 down on the side of Prelude, which is going to allow NM to at least shift over to this right side and maybe get a push going with that Booyah Bomb and a teammate. We do see him just going for it, and that's going to be the lead. NM not waiting for his teammates to get any picks, just rushing straight in and seeing the opening clear right before him. And that's going to be the lead coming out for Ouroboros. Now Prelude has to respond quickly. They are going to decide possibly to just let the Rainmaker reset and reclaim as much turf as possible for this next one. Possibly get a pick or 2 before they pick up that Rainmaker. There's 1 pick, but we see a pick going in favor of either team here, though Prelude now is going to be the one with the lesser numbers, as I believe it was Pulp actually who gets taken down at some point there.
Prelude at least able to push into mid, even though they did have the numbers at disadvantage there momentarily. I love the way that Ouroboros is playing really, really fast off of getting picks, though. You see Scotty here just pushing up as their teammate was crabbing right away, just recognizing their advantage state and able to play off of that. Now, I mean, Ouroboros knows that they have the lead. There's a minute left on the clock right now, and they're just trying to slowly get into mid, try and stall it out a little bit. But with Scotty going down, Pulp grabs the Rainmaker right away to try and get some picks with this Rainmaker to get a push going for Prelude, since they still need the lead in order to win this.
Yeah, we see right there, as soon as Pulp got that pick, she just decided to pick up the Rainmaker and try to make something quick happen for their team. Ooh, a split second there. Scotty able to just get that pick before Pulp was just able to, dodge right there. And things are looking pretty decent for Prelude. They just have to wait for their remaining members to come back into this. But actually now Ouroboros recognizes that, and they're just going to dive right onto the Rainmaker and take out actually 3-4, a full wipe. Nice showing and defense from Ouroboros here, as they just need to defend for 15 seconds. And you have to imagine that they're just going to stall this one out and not really push forward here. So Prelude needs to do something quickly if they want even a chance to pick up the Rainmaker.
Prelude not having any specials in order to push towards the Rainmaker at all, and with NM just holding the Rainmaker completely on the opposite side of Prelude's spawn, not letting Prelude even get close to the Rainmaker, just shooting those shots out, is going to enable Ouroboros to completely win this first game in this best-of-3 set. And it looks like Ouroboros is just kind of continuing that momentum they had previously against Prelude here. But I mean, that game felt so close. Prelude able to initially get the lead really fast, but with Ouroboros just adapting really fastly and having really good recognition of their team synergy allowed them to take that first game.
Yeah, and sometimes all it takes is just recognizing that a push is available. And we saw NM when they had the Rainmaker. Teammates didn't even get any pick or anything for him to decide, let me go forward. He saw the path carved out right in front of him and just went for it. And it paid off dividends as they were able to push it all the way to 34 here and secure that victory for themselves as we move on to Clam Blitz on Eeltail Alley. So definitely an interesting one here, I think, as, Prelude, we've seen them stick it out with that E-leader. I think this is a pretty decent E-leader map if you're just able to, keep them alive and make sure that nobody is really able to pressure them that much. But, I mean, we've seen Ouroboros time and time again be very aggressive. So, interesting to see how Prelude responds to this aggression that Ouroboros is throwing at them to keep maybe Pulp in, pretty advantageous positions.
It does. This map definitely has safe spots for E-leaders to be able to sit and set up and get in positions to be able to get the snipes that they need for their team. But like you said, with the way Ouroboros has been playing really aggressively and capitalizing off of any picks that they get, Prelude is absolutely going to have to make sure that they're watching Pulp and making sure that they protect her. And looking at the comps here too, looks like both teams are sticking to same comps. Main thing I see is NM switching from NZAP, which we just saw in the first game, over to the Custom Junior.
Yeah, so that Custom Junior is going to be throwing up a lot of wave breakers. And this is another map where, there's a lot of amounts of cover for not only the placement of the wave breaker to just catch out those enemies sharking, and I think that's pretty important as we do see both of these teams using a lot of Ninja Squid. So let's see how that really factors into this game. Right now we aren't seeing too much happening. The first member is going to get taken down on the side of Ouroboros. That's going to be Scotty getting taken down right there, and the second member actually, and now this kind of opens up things for Prelude. If they're able to get 1 or 2 more picks, claim a lot of ground, they should be able to get a score going here, as we already see Swish and Pulp kind of pushed up. Nice charger shot coming out from Pulp right there, as that should have been able to open things up. But we actually see on the right side here, I think a couple members went down for Prelude, so that stalled things out and maybe not able to get as strong of a push as they might have wanted, but they still were able to break the goal in the end.
With Pulp's wave breaker there, and Pulp getting some really nice snipes that allowed Prelude to just sustain the initial push and mid control that they had there. Now Prelude able to get a few more clams and actually able to get a whole power clam in to get their score all the way down to 39. What a great initial push to have going, and with the basket closing here, that is going to be it for Prelude's first push, but that was a great starting push for them going into this game too.
Yeah, we saw Swish right there, able to be a complete nuisance just with the crab tank. They didn't really get any picks, but they stalled them out so long that now all the members of Prelude are back in mid and able to defend. And we heard Popgun mention in an earlier set, sometimes on a Clam Blitz set or a push, you don't want to, push so much that you lose the middle of the map in return. And Swish just able to distract so much that they were able to put up a decent fight and hold on to mid, and now they've got a decent chance at another defense right here, as we see 3 members already down on the side of Ouroboros. Successful push, and I think that really all started with Swish being a distraction.
that definitely allowed Prelude's the teammates of Swish to follow up behind them and just continue that mid control and follow up. And you can see they have mid control again already and are getting clams at the ready. I love that Pulp gets that power clam but does back up, recognizing that she does have 2 teammates down. Now with Pulp having her wave breaker and Swish having that crab at the ready, this is set up to be really, really good defense for Prelude, and they are making sure that even though Ouroboros is coming in, they're trying to set up their defense, but here comes that aggression from Ouroboros. They have their specials at the ready and 10 clams at the ready. Let's see if they can get a push going.
Yeah, Scotty just taking the fight right to Umbre, able to, I believe, win that 1v1 and then get another member as well. Pulp now the last remaining member on the side of Prelude as her teammates are respawning, and that's going to be a nice strong push to give Ouroboros the lead right here and really put the pressure on Prelude to come back in the last 2 minutes of the game. Ouroboros, the members are going to get taken down with that push, but we do see NM still alive. So once again, if they're just able to stall them out and make sure that they don't lose complete control of the middle of the map, they might be able to put up a nice strong defense in return. But we're already seeing Prelude push up and use specials to try and gain as much ground as possible here.
Prelude does use that Booyah Bomb to try and get that mid control and potentially get a push going, but they did have, I believe that was 1 or 2 members of their team go down as they were using their specials. So Ouroboros on the other hand here setting up really, really nice defense, and they do have this power clam at the ready. You can see they're just continuing their defense, making sure that they play safely together. More specials coming out from Prelude once again, as Prelude knows that they need to give this everything if they want to get the lead.
Oh yeah, and then that wave breaker, I think, just able to take down Umbre right there. So that might stall things out if you're Prelude, waiting for Umbre to get back into the fight here. Now we see Swish trying to push forward on that crab tank, but is just going to elect to drop down and kind of give up a decent amount of ground right there. They do break the goal right there, and now Swish is gonna jump in, but oh no, gonna get taken down before they're able to throw that power clam, and that is gonna be Ouroboros with a strong defense right there. You gotta wonder, did they need to jump in there, or could they just maybe have just run straight in and try to score that way? That might be, you know, the game for themselves, that they need to form a power clam rather quickly to even force overtime.
Finally, in the last 5 seconds here, Prelude able to get that power clam at the ready, and we are about to head into overtime since Prelude does have this power clam at the ready. But these defensive specials that Ouroboros have are making it really, really difficult for Prelude to even get close to the basket right now. There's a wave breaker, there's a crab, and there's a whale out, and with only 1 member left up of Prelude coming out from spawn, that is going to be game. The defense setup right there from Ouroboros was so good. They had kept their specials ready. They made sure they didn't push in too far, and that allowed them to play their defense so beautifully there and take that game 2, letting them move forward actually into grand finals.
Yep, nice showing from Ouroboros right there to find themselves back up into grand finals, especially as we mentioned, they're a completely new team, so bright future ahead of them, and they're looking to make that bright future happen right now in grand finals. Nice showing from Prelude as well. You know, they put up a real good fight. Both games were, you know, pretty much down to the wire right there. So Prelude definitely showing how strong they are. And, you know, once again, you know, at this level, it's just those little tiny mistakes that end up costing you the games that you just have to work on and, you know, make sure you fix up for the next tournament, and you'll see the results. So nice showing from Prelude there once again to get 3rd place in Proving Grounds number 5. But we're going to be going up to grand finals soon as Ouroboros gets the rematch up against Smoothie here.
I love that we're getting to see all these rematches that really, you know, lets you see if these teams are able to kind of figure out what went wrong initially and if they can fix it, fighting the team that they lost to again here. So seeing that first playback there, Prelude versus Ouroboros, was definitely a treat to watch here on stream, and now we get to see another rematch, Ouroboros versus Smoothie again. Of course, if you weren't here previously in winners finals, Smoothie versus Ouroboros went 3-1 with Smoothie taking that and moving Smoothie straight into grand finals. So we will see. I mean, Ouroboros was looking, you know, pretty on their game there versus Prelude. We'll see if Smoothie is going to be able to take this next set once again, or if Ouroboros is warmed up and knows what they did wrong versus Smoothie previously.
Yeah, and I mean, well, the majority of those games that we saw in that winners finals were fairly close. Outside of, I believe it was one game where Smoothie kind of really pulled away. I believe it was that last game. I can't even remember what it was, but Smoothie just really putting on a strong show in those last couple games. I know the series ended 3-1, but Ouroboros definitely put up a strong fight. So I'm looking for them to do so once again. And maybe even from that last set that they just played against I'm already losing the name of the last team. Prelude. Maybe able to figure out a couple maps that they might like to counter pick up against Smoothie.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. You know, since we are going back into counterpick territory. Didn't even think about that. Thinking about what maps and modes previously went good for them, which was what was that? Tower Control, Ink Blot, I believe, Ouroboros versus Smoothie, that Ouroboros was able to win that game. So thinking about how those games went previously for them, if they want to revisit some of those, or if they want to just completely pick different maps and modes.
Yeah, and we saw, in that last game, that Clamblitz Inkblot Art Academy, in the last time we saw Ouroboros versus Smoothie, that was Ouroboros' counterpick, but they weren't able to get any type of push that they really wanted. So, interested to see, if they're able to counterpick once again. Will they want, to go to Clamblitz, or will they elect to go to a different mode altogether? Do they think it was the map, or do they think it was the mode that kind of led them astray in that one? So, definitely want to see how Ouroboros responds, knowing, just how strong of a showing Smoothie has shown us all so far. I think on Clamblitz, I'm pretty sure they've won like nearly every game that I've seen them play Clamblitz so far. So Smoothie looking strong on that mode. Ouroboros looking strong on others. We saw them very strong on Tower Control. We saw them put a good push up against Prelude on Rainmaker. So maybe those, those modes where you're pushing into the enemy base really might spell, more success for Ouroboros.
That's a good point to think about. It seemed like Smoothie definitely had the upper hand on maps that felt a little bit more, stagnant and more centered. But for Ouroboros, they seem to do a really good job when it's like you have to play really fast and make sure that you're clearing areas really fast. And that's what we got to see them versus Prelude just now. And of course, when they won Tower Control on Inkblot Art Academy versus Smoothie, when they were able to play really fast, that just seemed like that was them in their prime. But of course, Smoothie is just so good at adapting to different play styles, different weapons, different maps and modes. So, gonna be interesting to see how this matchup is gonna come to fruition here once again.
Yep, and our first map is going to be Splat Zones on Mako Mart here. The Splat Zones games for the most part were back and forth, but we did see on Sturgeon Shipyard that replay Smoothie, able to end that one rather quickly. So I think Splat Zones in general, as you were mentioning, those more like, stagnant objectives, slower games are really playing in Smoothie's favor. So I think they have the advantage coming into this one. Ouroboros might want to, figure to change something up here if they want to stand a chance up against Smoothie on this first map.
And Smoothie, since this one's like obviously it's zone, so it's the objective isn't going to move, but their spawn is right there, and then the zone is right there in the middle of the map, and there's not a big gap in area that the teams need to move from the spawn to the zone. And Smoothie seems like they do such a good jobs when it's maps where flanks really come into play, and definitely this map and mode in particular does have flanks on the left and the right that come really handy when you play them correctly. So I could see Smoothie doing a really good job and using those flanks to their advantage. And as we start out here looking at the comps, we are seeing the custom junior come back from NM here, not switching back to the normal junior or the Zap, and the rest of their comp looking similar. And then for Smoothie, same comp that we have previously seen them play.
Yeah, both teams just running straight at each other, and it's going to be Ouroboros actually winning the first engagement here. NM facing a little bit of pressure on the left side, just wants to paint for that wave breaker and just control as much ground as possible with it, not allowing the members of Smoothie to kind of approach that zone. Gonna see one of his teammates go down right there, but NM able to clean up the member right there, and actually both teams in a 2v2 situation for the zone right here, and I think this plays well into Ouroboros' favor, as if they're able to just stall it out. They don't really need the picks at the moment, just need to be able to stall this zone and get as many points as possible. We see once again a member on the side of Ouroboros able to make a nice pick. Scotty just trying to go in and make something happen, but is going to get taken down in a 1v2 situation. So nice response from Smoothie here to keep themselves alive and, you know, secure the zone for themselves.
Smoothie making sure that they use that whale to just stall out Ouroboros a little bit more, allowing them to have a little bit more time to make sure they capitalize on keeping the zone and painting his sides and getting defensive specials ready. But these specials are coming back so fast from Ouroboros. This is that fast play style that they seem to thrive off of. They are just able to use those specials and instantly push into the zone, cap the zone once again, and now push up really aggressively here in a defensive position to hold the zone. Smoothie, you can see Balloon here had to use this crab to stay alive, stall out for their teammates a little bit. Now Smoothie, in turn, having specials ready to try and push into the zone.
Yeah, right now we do see them able to capture that zone and put the penalty back up for Ouroboros. NM is going to be taken down in a trade right there, and Balloon trying to make something happen onto Dizzy, but Dizzy able to pick them off rather quickly, and that should be the zone going back to Ouroboros if they're just able to get that pick. Oh, a nice direct into the indirect combo, the classic for the sloshing machine. Dizzy able to take full advantage of that to clear out 2 onto the zone and gain full control for Ouroboros.
I love the way Dizzy and NM are playing their weapons around each other. Dizzy has this machine fizzy combo with so much chip damage, and then NM has, of course, that Wavebreaker and torpedo chip damage to pair with that. So that seems like the way they're playing this together is making it so difficult for Smoothie to even approach the two when they play together like that really, really nicely. And now with Smoothie here giving it everything they have, they are pushing into the zone, and just like that, they are able to at least cap it and give themselves a little bit more time here to set up and get in a position to try and take the lead.
Yeah, Balloon able to take down a Bran right there, and if they're able to just secure the zone for a little bit longer, they are going to be able to clear past their penalty, and they are going to do just that. The Ouroboros able to neutralize it for a second here, but they don't really have the manpower to kind of put any paint on the zone at the moment. They're all a little bit too far in pretty bad positions, and I think that is going to be the lead going over to Smoothie, as actually almost all members go down on the side of Ouroboros, and Brad just needs to stay alive and use that crab efficiently if they're going to be able to have any chance at getting the zone back.
Abram using this crab to just try and get to the zone, use those expo shots to paint the zone just to stall it a little bit more, but unfortunately for them, they weren't quite able to get there in time paired with their teammates to get to the zone to try and stall it out a little bit more. Smoothie there, able to just cap the zone and swap that there really, really nicely at the end and play really, really nicely to take this first game in the set of grand finals.
Yeah, nice game from Smoothie right there to really turn it around. We saw Ouroboros really in control for, you know, most of that game. Yeah, the zone was going back and forth, but they were in the lead and pretty handily for the most part. But once Smoothie was able to get a nice couple picks and put them out of position, they were not able to respond basically at all. And you know, we saw a Brand having to jump back with that crab, try to keep it alive, but they didn't have the time to really put themselves in a position to take full advantage of that crab. None of the other teammates had the special, and that was just Smoothie able to take full advantage of that situation to hold on to the zone and just keep them out of it. So nice game one coming out from Smoothie, but once again we see Ouroboros is right there neck and neck with them, but they're just not able to get that that win in the end. Just one little thing not going their way, but you know, those are the growing pains of becoming a new team. Just need to, you know, you need to figure it out now if you want to win this set.
Absolutely, definitely. That's when you start knowing, okay, we definitely can do this, but we just have to work on these little minute details, because you can definitely see that Ouroboros has it in them. They have the potential to be able to take games like we've previously seen them do against Smoothie. Now looking at this set, so this is Grand Finals. It is a best of 5 with counterpicks as we see here on the screen. And since Ouroboros did lose that first game, they will be the team that gets to counterpick this second map that we get to see here. So we'll have to see what they pick moving forward, what game 2 is going to be.
Yeah, right as you say that, they do decide it is going to be Tower Control, Sturgeon Shipyard. Smoothie, interestingly, did ban Tower Control Inkling Art Academy, which we saw Ouroboros completely dominate on in the winners finals. So smart, I think, from Smoothie to kind of ban that one and then force Ouroboros to go somewhere else. Let's see how Tower Control, Sturgeon Shipyard plays out for both of these teams here. And I think in that first Tower Control set that we saw them play, obviously it was a different map, but I think we can expect at least similar comps for the most part. These teams haven't really changed too much, but on Tower Control, we saw them both bring out the Splattershot Junior for that big bubbler to help them get past that checkpoint. I wouldn't be surprised if at least one of these teams elects to bring that out here.
Oh, absolutely. We definitely highlighted that previously, how well Ouroboros, when they picked that junior with the bubbler, how well that worked out for them specifically on Tower Control. So since we will be going back to Tower Control for game 2, we'll have to see if that does work out nicely for them again, if they are able to play off of that. For some reason, it seemed like it just almost seemed like Smoothie wasn't able to play really fastly when Ouroboros had that bubbler up on the tower, and it kind of stalled Smoothie out a little bit. But of course, Smoothie, being the team that they are, is really, really good at adapting really fast, so they might be prepared going into this knowing what to expect already.
No Splattershot Junior on the side of Smoothie. Instead, they've got an extra splash. Splash-O-Matic there, but on the side of Ouroboros, NM is going to be bringing out that Splattershot Junior once again. So let's see how this opening goes out. In the last Tower Control, we saw Ouroboros getting the quick picks that they needed to allow themselves to get onto the tower, and so far the fight is going actually in their favor once again, as they're in a 3v2 situation. Brand able to take down one of the members of Smoothie right there and find their teammates onto the tower. NM is going to be jumping right onto the tower to allow Dizzy to move forward with that sloshing machine, and NM also has that bubbler at the ready. So once they get into that court area, but oh no, the classic booyah bomb just falling into your death right after, and that actually opens up the game for Smoothie to just come right back into it. So a very unfortunate situation for Ouroboros right there, Rissa, as they kind of just let Smoothie back into it.
They did. That was so unfortunate. The spinner went up, and Dizzy just had they just had to accept that that was their life now. They just were going down. So Smoothie, able to recognize that happening really fast, able to push this tower to the first checkpoint and try and get through the checkpoint. You can see Balloon was using that crowd. The Booyah Bomb came out from Smoothie, and now Smoothie is trying to do everything they can to potentially push the tower past this first checkpoint, though not quite able to push it past the first checkpoint, as Ouroboros is already back really, really fast in their plat, already on the defense, making sure that they guard the tower.
Yeah, they are finally able to get past that checkpoint and able to get themselves a little lead right there. We also see 3 members on the side of Smoothie already pushed up into that enemy snipe and now onto their plat, as well as Dan is going to just be throwing that Booyah Bomb, create as much space for the team as possible, get past that checkpoint, and things are looking very bad if you're Ouroboros right now, pushing all the way to 3. The crab tank is going to be actually able to get the wipe, and I think that's going to be the game. Nobody's going to be able to touch the tower. That's extremely unfortunate if you're Ouroboros. You got to imagine that at least if Dizzy was able to stay alive on that push, not going and falling into that abyss right there, they might have at least been able to keep the push going for a little bit longer and maybe not have things, turn that bad so quickly.
I know, that was so unfortunate. They definitely seemed like Ouroboros had a really, really good opening. I mean, they immediately were able to get the picks they needed. They were immediately able to take the tower and get a push going. But just having that unfortunate stagger there was exactly what Smoothie needed to be able to capitalize and capitalize they did, because they completely KO'd that and allowed them to take that game too. So now, once again, we are in the position where Ouroboros is going to be the team that is picking the counter pick here for game 3. And this is game, set, match right now. If Ouroboros is not able to win this game, then since this is a best of 5, that will be the set. So we'll have to see what happens here. They're definitely going to be thinking really hard about what they want to counterpick here.
Yeah, we did see, as we mentioned earlier, they decided to go to clams. They actually are going to be doing that once again, going to clams. Interesting to see if they decide to go back to Inkblot Art Academy or a completely new map. But let's see, Museum and Eeltail are going to be banned. So the Inkblot is on the table. They did lose that in winners finals. I don't know if they want to go back to that or find something new here. Definitely want to know what they're going to do. And actually, we are going to Inkblot. So it was a close game in that set, but they weren't able to get the pushes that they needed. Now, they just need to execute on it. I think that's really the big thing that's going in Smoothie's favor. Ouroboros is not really able to execute when they put themselves in those advantageous positions.
I think something that stands out to me is Ouroboros isn't quite able to recover when they do have a lapse moment of the other team, getting the advantage state. So they aren't quite able to recover and regroup themselves as well as Smoothie is. When Smoothie does, lose the lead or lose members, Smoothie's able to just adapt really fast and still continue on and play the game really smoothly and swap over the lead. But Ouroboros does have a little bit harder of a time just adapting to that. So if they are able to do that, then absolutely this could be the game for them. And I think the other thing too is previously when we saw these two teams here, they definitely have to watch the flanks, because Smoothie was just pulling flanks left and right, just constant aggression. So we'll see as we go into game 3 of grand finals.
Yep. Smoothie trying to finish this one out in a clean 3-0. Ouroboros trying to stay alive here. We see Scotty and Storm kind of in a 1v1. Now is going to back up, and a Brand there to help, but they're going to get taken down. And now 2 down, 3 down for Ouroboros, as they're already going to be able to score is Smoothie. That's a full wipeout, and they have the clams to throw in as well. We're going to see them go possibly down to 50 and even lower here, as Smoothie right out the gates coming out strong to put themselves on the board here.
Smoothie instantly breaking the basket and getting more clams in to get a really, really nice starting lead. Looks like someone was able to sneak in there and get another clam in just to stall it out even more. And as both teams have 2 members up, you see Smoothie completely backing up actually to their side of the map. They know that Ouroboros is going to start pushing in since they did have the special advantage. So Ouroboros here pushing in really nicely, getting 2 members down on the side of Smoothie, but then in turn on their side also having 2 members down as well. So they know they need to play this carefully, make sure they get clams ready this time, since previously that seemed like that was one of their big issues too, making sure that they had the clams ready when they did get the potential for a push. So you can see right now they're trying to make sure they have the clams ready, trying to get in a position to push, but the defense from Smoothie is so good. Smoothie recognized that right away, and they have instantly taken 3 members of Ouroboros down and are pushing up again.
Yep, right now, Smoothie already back into their plat, throwing up this crab tank, throwing up the Booyah Bomb, creating as much space for themselves. They, in this case, don't have the power clam, but they just are kind of stalling out Ouroboros and making sure that they can't get into mid, though. That kind of, doesn't work out for them as 2 of their members go down, allowing Dizzy and Ouroboros to get back into mid here. Dizzy needs to try to make something happen, pushing up onto the plat, but they're just going to elect to go into the middle of the map, and one of their teammates is going to get taken down as a result. And I think that's really what Ouroboros needs to, kind of do here. Yeah, you need the clams, but you also need to at least make some type of play to allow your team to gain some ground, and it doesn't seem like any member of Ouroboros has really been able to do that thus far.
not quite able to, capitalize on situations that they're able to make for themselves. Maybe playing a little bit scared because they know that this is match point, so they have to make sure that they play this really carefully. And I feel like they play their best when they just play really aggressively and play off of things really fast. So if they're able to do that in the last 2 minutes of this, they can absolutely put points on the board. And speaking of taking advantage of situations, they are actually getting 2 members down of Smoothie. Boopy, though, able to use this crab and stop Scotty there from pushing up. You see Dizzy pushes up and does score that power climb in, but with 2 members down on the side of Ouroboros, 3 members now, I don't think they'll be quite able to get more points on the board.
Yeah, we saw NM trying to get a couple extra clams in there, but quickly taken down by Boopy and the rest of Smoothie as well. And that was just a nice defense from Smoothie. And you mentioned that their callouts have been on point. Anytime anybody notices somebody on the enemy team, all the members kind of a Smoothie just respond and are able to take them down in a split second. So nice team coordination coming out from them. They try to push forward, but Ouroboros with that Booyah Bomb is going to be able to take down at least one of their members. And now they do have a decent amount of control of mid, is Ouroboros. They just need to kind of act on it. We see Scotty moving on forward. I like the aggression from Scotty to clear up some space for the rest of the team, but we see NM actually is going to go down, not able to score that power clam right under the goal, and that is going to allow Smoothie to just kind of push on forward and force all of Ouroboros kind of back onto their side of the map.
I really liked what Ouroboros had going there. They used that killer whale to push back the members of Smoothie and allow their NM to push in through that to score that power climb in. But unfortunately for them, Smoothie had their defensive specials ready just in time. They were sitting back waiting to use them. Now you can see the map, though, is more purple than it is orange right now, and Ouroboros is trying to get in a position to get a push going as we only have 30 seconds remaining of this match. You can see both teams have a lot of clams ready too, so anything can happen as we go into the last 30 seconds of this.
Yeah, they definitely have the clams to make a good strong push. They just need to get those picks. Storm rather is going to be taken down, and we do see Boopy though and the rest of Smoothie respond. One of them goes down though. Right there is Balloon, and now we've got a 3v3 kind of situation. They've got 2 power clams at the ready. That'll get them down to 50, and then they just need a couple extra clams. And I'm able to score the first one. The Booyah Bomb does come in. Dizzy gonna try to make something happen. There it is, 47. They just need to throw in 2 more clams, and there it is. Ouroboros able to take game number 3 in overtime to keep themselves alive here.
That was so clutch of Ouroboros, able to, in the last possible seconds of that match, able to swap the lead, and a really, really nice turn of events there with NM able to push forward with that initial power clam. Did go down, but the Booyah Bomb that came out from Dizzy was so clutch because that allowed them to get the picks and get the room that they needed to push forward to score the winning clams in. So what a clutch play there at the end from Ouroboros. That's exactly what they needed to do. Capitalize on situations like that allow them to get the lead and play aggressively.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned it there. You liked it when they played fast, and sometimes, in an overtime situation, that's all you can do. They were kind of forced into playing into their strength there, and it worked out for them in the end. Nobody could hesitate because there just wasn't any time to even really think. They just needed to go and then went for it, opened up that goal, and then the Booyah Bomb just cleared up all the space, allowing them to score after that as well. And kudos to the 2 remaining players on Ouroboros who just had those little bit of extra clams to throw in there at the end. Just able to get yourself in a nice position to throw those in. It's not always the easiest in overtime, but going on to game number 4, it is going to be splat zones. So we saw, Smoothie seems to like to counterpick over to splat zones, and I mean, they haven't lost one thus far against Ouroboros, so why not keep it going?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Smoothie just continues to do so good on zones, and I feel like they really thrive. Like we previously talked about how they just really thrive on that objective that just stays stationary. So definitely makes sense for Smoothie to go back to zones and play off of the thing that they play so well on. And really interested to see what's going to happen here in terms of counter picks. It looks like Ouroboros has banned Flounder and Hagglefish. So definitely good bans because Flounder is still new and a little bit chaotic, and then Hagglefish, Smoothie previously won on versus Ouroboros. So the map does come in, and we will be going to Splat Zones on Sturgeon Shipyard.
And if you remember from that winners finals set, that was one where we had the replay, and yeah, the first game was kind of back and forth-ish, but that second game, Smoothie completely dominated. So very interesting for Ouroboros to, allow Smoothie to pick Sturgeon Shipyard once again. Let's see how it works out in their favor as we are going on to game number 4 in this grand finals. No changes in the comp coming out from Smoothie as expected, and we do see no real changes coming out from Ouroboros either, as both teams kind of sticking it out with their tried and true comps for this one.
And remember, this is going to be game point for Ouroboros. They need to win this if they want to take Smoothie to a game 5. So initially here, Smoothie, the team that is going to cap the zone, and I always love that Boopy always has a crab ready right away to start the push going for their team. And now with Smoothie initially capping the zone, it looks like Ouroboros was able to play off of specials really nicely and kept the zone on their side. They have taken the lead, but not by much yet, as both teams are just juggling back and forth.
Yep, nice job for Dizzy to win that 1v1 up against Storm right there. Able to take down Balloon as well. Are they going to be able to take down Boopy? And they do. So that's 3 down basically coming out for Smoothie. So nice job for Ouroboros to secure this zone, and they're going to be able to get a decent amount of points as they actually are going to have 2 specials at the ready. The Wave Breaker already out there, the Booyah Bomb coming in soon, and they're also going to have a crab. So nice job for Ouroboros to really, control the special game right now. And that Booyah Bomb, just throw it up there, try and get as much ground as possible, not really allow them in. But Dizzy has to watch out, as a lot of the members for Smoothie are kind of approaching the zone on their side right here. And they're actually going to be, I believe, the last member remaining, and they jumped out. Yeah, nice job for Dizzy to just jump out there and regroup with the rest of the team. But Smoothie, nice job to take back that zone as well.
This is exactly what Smoothie does. They don't panic when they know the other team has the lead. They don't panic when they know the other team has the advantage. Smoothie just regroups together, make sure that they have specials ready, make sure that they play off of each other, and that's exactly what they did in order to come in and recap the zone and give those 59 penalty points over to Ouroboros. Ouroboros right now does have 3 members down. It looks like it's just Dizzy up, and that's a complete wipe on the side of Ouroboros as they were trying to come back in to cap the zone. Smoothie, though, on the defense, able to guard the zone really nicely, synergize together, and make sure that they called out all the members of Ouroboros.
Yeah, right now we do see Scotty trying to win that fight up against one of the members of Smoothie. Now it is only Dan up for Smoothie. Is going to have to back out, just jump back. And a nice play from Ouroboros, realizing we don't really have the time to wait to build up all our specials. Let's just go in as a team and see if we can win this team fight effectively, and they do. And now that means that since they didn't waste too many specials getting back into the zone, they're going to be able to use them to defend. Here comes that Booyah Bomb to try and just pressure that crab tank. And actually, I think they were able to get the pick, so nice job. They're able to get a second pick as well, and this could actually be really good for Ouroboros, as the Smoothie's kind of staggered now, and they're going to have to wait to try to make a strong push in return. So things are looking pretty up for Ouroboros if they're just able to secure this and not really allow them to get back into this zone in time.
Ouroboros actually able to take the lead right now, and they are counting down points with 2 members down on the side of Smoothie. Smoothie tries to do everything they can to come back into the zone, but unfortunately for Smoothie, they were not able to get back into the zone. The defense from Ouroboros was so good there at the end, and we are going to be going to a Game 5 in Grand Finals.
Yep, nice showing from Ouroboros to put themselves back into this one, and we saw it right there. We mentioned it, they just went in as a team to try to get themselves back in because they didn't have their specials, and that allowed them to just throw the specials back while defending. That Booyah Bomb able to get a nice pick onto the crab tank user as they were trying to jump down to avoid it. And that really allowed Ouroboros to just have the man advantage and force Smoothie into a situation where they kind of had to rush the zone, and Ouroboros was just ready for it.
I think it seemed like Ouroboros, The first time Smoothie came in, Ouroboros kind of waited to use their specials, and in turn, that allowed members of Smoothie to get the picks onto members of Ouroboros. But this time, it seemed like when Ouroboros was in control of the zone, they actually used their specials earlier. As soon as they saw one member of Smoothie pop a special, that's when Ouroboros used their defensive specials, and that just completely stalled out and stopped any momentum from Smoothie. So being able to recognize just little details like that you can adapt your playstyle to definitely is going to help Ouroboros here adapt to the way that Smoothie plays.
And interestingly enough, Smoothie is going to be going to tower control here. One of the modes where we saw, Ouroboros really put up a good fight against them in that first set, and in the second set they were able to secure the victory. But we actually are going to be going to tower control Sturgeon Shipyard, which I believe they won pretty handily earlier in this set, if I'm correct. So,
oh yeah,
nice showing from them. Oh yeah, this was the one where we saw the player on the side of Ouroboros just fall into the abyss with that booyah bomb. And that kind of opened things up for Smoothie. So, they did win it in a knockout, but things could have easily gone in the other direction. If they were able to just keep up the push and, not die to their own, fault.
Yeah, absolutely. That just little thing staggered them just that much. So get ready. We are going into Game 5 of Grand Finals for Proving Grounds 5. Back to Sturgeon, which we have seen quite a bit already in this set. Both teams coming out here and looking at the comps, it looks like no real switch ups. These teams are staying to their tried and trues.
Yep, we see no real team member going forward just yet. Now we do see one member on the side of Smoothie able to get down 2, and kind of a 1v3 situation, able to take down 2. So nice job by them. Dan trying to clean it up, but is going to get taken out, and that's going to actually force the last remaining member of Smoothie back into their own court. They're going to pop that crab tank from a decent position to try and force them off the tower, and were able to do that momentarily. But they're going to get taken down in a trade. And we see NM using the big bubbler rather early compared to what he's usually been using it rather down, towards that second checkpoint. But he just wants to secure it, make sure that they get it early, and try to make sure that their next push is rather strong here.
I like that. The adaptation to making sure that NM was, getting the first checkpoint for their team. And now, even though NM does go down, Ouroboros able to continue getting points on the board for themselves, but finally the defense comes in from Smoothie. We see Storm and Balloon there grouping up really nicely to make sure that they completely stop the tower, and now Smoothie rushing into mid, making sure they paint and get their specials ready for offense. They know that, okay, we do not have the lead right now. We need to get set up for ourselves so that way we can get the lead.
Yep, nice burst bombs coming out to pick off Scotty, and that's going to be 2 taken down actually on the side of Ouroboros, 3 taken down, and it's only NM who seems to be coming back from spawn right here in a fight up against Storm, and things are not looking too good. If you're Ouroboros, they've been pretty strong on offense, but their defenses have just not been there as members just continue to get taken down one by one.
I love that the members of Smoothie just kind of juggled the tower together just to make sure that they at least got the lead. Now, with Smoothie getting the lead, this has completely swapped. Now it's going to be Ouroboros' turn to get the lead, and it's just a lead by 2 points. So anything can happen. We still have 2 minutes and 30 seconds left of the match, and the way these two teams have been playing, I mean, anything can happen. Both teams have just been playing so well this set. In particular, it's been going back and forth. So Scotty's setting up here with this whale to set up for a push for their team. Let's see if they are able to capitalize off of this.
Scotty was just playing absolutely amazing. They're staying alive for a long period of time and really harassing Smoothie to allow his team to get onto that second checkpoint and clear it, actually. Dizzy now trying to get Dan out of the way here from that tower. Boopy, though, able to come in and at least put an end to that one. But Ouroboros, that was a successful push. They got past the checkpoint. Now they just need to, hunker in on defense, which has really been their Achilles heel in this tower control set so far.
I love that we've consistently seen Dizzy on that machine just jump back and make sure that they save their specials. They're consistently doing that, and I think just little things like that are so good for your team and making sure that you're playing for your team and playing for that defense, playing for that offense. Right now, we have seen once again the way these two teams are swapping their momentum. Smoothie right now getting one member down on the side of Ouroboros is getting ready to push the tower up, but I mean, I don't see what quite staggered them there on the right side of the map. They have been staggered though, having one member down on the side of Smoothie. The defense setup right now from Ouroboros is really, really good. They are not letting Smoothie come onto their snipe right now.
Yep, Doopy though trying to move in onto him, gonna try to throw the burst bomb to get them taken down, but not able to do that. Brand able to back up, and that should at least keep them alive for the time being. Maybe able to put their crab back in return there. We see one member on the side of Smoothie go down, and now they just need to fight with their crab against the enemy crab and just keep them off the map. Booyah Bomb is going to be coming in, but you got to give it to a Brand right there, able to stay alive, and you know that crab tank staggered this push, forced them to push back and not even approach that second checkpoint here. So nice job coming out from Ouroboros to really keep themselves into this one, though they are going to need probably another special or two to really put this one away.
I just love this consistent map control and not pushing too far forward from Ouroboros. In the last 17 seconds of this, they know that they don't need to push in too far in order to watch the tower. With one member, though, going down on the side of Ouroboros, there is another member on the side of Smoothie going down, and Balloon is doing everything they can to ride the tower in this crab. But with Booyah Bombs coming out from both sides, Balloon is just juggling this tower best they can. Members of Smoothie are jumping in, and with 3 members down on the side of Ouroboros, this could be it, and that is gonna be it for Grand Finals. Smoothie there at the last possible second, getting some clutch jump-ins, some clutch specials, able to take Game 5 there at the last possible second.
Yeah, that's a great end of the game right there. I mean, on the side of Ouroboros, they had a game plan at the end. Dizzy had the Booyah Bomb to force them off the tower. But, you know, that crab tank just tanked it and was able to get past the entire Booyah Bomb. And then his own teammate was able to throw the Booyah Bomb in return onto the tower and make sure that nobody was able to approach. So both teams had a game plan, but in the end, it was Smoothie's plan who, you know, was the superior one and able to force all of the members of Ouroboros completely away from the tower and keep themselves alive for that overtime push. So nice plays coming out from both teams, but Smoothie is going to be our Proving Grounds 5 champions here.
Ooh, I'm still recovering from that. That was crazy. I mean, Smoothie able to recognize as soon as they got an initial pick, able to recognize that they can play off of that, and then just continuing to get jump-ins like that was super clutch because that allowed them to just continuously have a member on the tower in order to get the lead there. So what a great Grand Finals game that we got to watch, and definitely GG's to both of these teams and all the teams in the tournament. This was a real treat to watch and be a part of on my Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, great tournament. Proving Grounds, I feel like every week we get some pretty, or every 2 weeks rather, we get some, you know, really great sets coming out. And Ouroboros and Smoothie gave us just that. Another classic one here. And you got to shout out to Ouroboros, their first tournament, I believe, with together, and, you know, find themselves in Grand Finals of a pretty, you know, up against some pretty good competition. So nice showing from them. Able to get themselves this far so early on, and I'm very excited to see what they accomplish going forward. Going 2-3 against Smoothie, you know, that's an accomplishment for your first tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Smoothie just seems to consistently put out super good results in weekly tournaments like this and SOS. So being able to take Smoothie this far, all the way to Game 5 of Grand Finals, is definitely not something to take lightly for Ouroboros. And then, of course, they were able to take the 2 sets over Prelude. They are coming out really, really strong in this tournament. So, like you said, I'm really excited to see what they do moving forward as a team.
Yeah, so, you know, Proving Grounds, as we mentioned, great tournament as usual. And we can't wait to see you guys in the next one. I've been Walkman. You can find me, I guess, on Twitter, Walkman_04. And Rissa, why don't you plug yourself out?
You can find me on Twitter at Rissa High. And that's about it from me. I think that's going to be it from us here at IPL for Proving Grounds 5. It's been a real treat. This has been a really, really awesome tournament. So that being said, that's going to be us. Everyone have a good night, and we will see you on the next Proving Grounds.
Stop,